The story of Star Wars is generally a tale of good versus evil, filled with characters that solidify their stance in the matter through the actions they take on their respective journeys. It's through these actions that these characters transform from just everyday people into legends. This begs the question, which character is the best? Many may give one or various answers. I believe there are quite a few. So my goal in this series is to intensely analyze the characters I believe fit this mold, and to make a case for them as the greatest Star Wars character of all time. The character I want to look at today is the Jedi Master himself in Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan is undoubtedly one of the most iconic characters in Star Wars and arguably responsible for the majority of its memes. In this multi-part analysis, I want to go over how Obi-Wan's ideals, philosophy, and journey as a character molds the themes of both the prequels and the original trilogy. Obi-Wan is first introduced to audiences in the original trilogy as the old and wise Jedi Master that would guide Luke upon his path to becoming a Jedi Knight and a hero of the rebellion. He's an ideal mentor for Luke as he embarks on the quintessential hero's journey, where Obi-Wan's insight proves to be invaluable to his growth as a character. But in order to fully understand how he became the archetypal sage, we must look at the journey he took to get there, as his experiences are what molded him into the guardian of peace and justice that we meet in A New Hope. In Episode 1, Obi-Wan is established as the young Padawan apprentice of Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn. This then gives more meaning to the idea of the circle now being complete, as we see that Obi-Wan's role is a reflection of that in A New Hope. Where he was once the master, now the role has been reversed entirely, where Obi-Wan is but the learner.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I don't sense anything.
It's not about the mission, Master. It's something elsewhere, elusive.
Even at a young age, Obi-Wan's abilities prove to be powerful, as he senses the dark side of the Force at work, foreshadowing their eventual return. It's in these abilities that Obi-Wan shows that he's an astute student of the Force. But as we know, behind every great student is a great teacher. So what's important here is the advice he's given.
Don't center on your anxieties, Obi-Wan. Keep your concentration here and now where it belongs.
But Master Yoda said I should be mindful of the future.
But not at the expense of the moment. Be mindful of the living Force, young Padawan.
It's through Qui-Gon and Yoda's differing philosophies that the importance of guidance is highlighted, as Obi-Wan's youth makes him more impressionable, so his ideals will be directly shaped by the counsel he's given from his mentors. So the true challenge is for Obi-Wan to choose which advice to lean on. It's in these early scenes of the film that Obi-Wan's characteristics and traits are established. Obi-Wan's young age is emphasized visually through his Padawan braid, this being used to symbolically represent his rank of apprentice in the Jedi Order. Mentally, we see his youth shown through his curiosity, as he's always quick to ask his master questions to gain a better understanding of the world around him.
How do you think this trade viceroy will deal with the Chancellor's demands? Is it in their nature to make us wait this long? But Master Yoda said I should be mindful of the future.
As well, his courage, valor, and overall skills as a swordsman are put to display when aiding his master against the droids of the Trade Federation. As they embark on their escape, Obi-Wan exhibits his iconic wit and charm through his sense of humor, a tool he frequently uses to make light of a situation and ease the tension.
You were right about one thing, Master. The negotiations were short.
Once on Naboo, Obi-Wan's communication skills and eventual role as a negotiator are put to the test as he follows his master's lead. When talking to Jar Jar, it becomes apparent that he will act based out of fear, so they play into this to influence his decision-making.
You hear that?
Yeah?
That is the sound of 1,000 terrible things heading this way.
If they find us, they will crush us, grind us into tiny pieces, and blast us into oblivion.
And of course, Obi-Wan never fails to leave much to the imagination. While this works to get them to the Gungan city, once there, Obi-Wan shows that he has room for improvement in the art of negotiation.
Once those droids take control of the surface, they will take control of you. You and the Naboo form a symbiont circle. What happens to one of you will affect the other. You must understand this.
While in most instances this logical line of thinking would convince someone to reconsider, Obi-Wan fails to convince Boss Nass in particular because he doesn't put himself in his shoes.
Naboo think they so smarty. They think their brains so big. We should no care about da Naboo.
Boss Nass does not act out of logic, rather emotion, as his pride won't allow him to help someone that thinks they're better than him and his people, which is why later in the film, Padme succeeds where Obi-Wan failed.
You shall not think you are greater than the Gungan. You shall like this.
In the meantime, before Obi-Wan learns this lesson in negotiation, we see where he picked up his iconic trump card in the Jedi mind trick, as his master uses it to get them the transport they need to reach the city of Theed.
We could use a transport.
We shall give you una bongo.
After Obi-Wan and the team rescue the Queen and reach Tatooine, we're then introduced to Darth Maul. It's through Maul that Obi-Wan's traits are highlighted, as the two apprentices prove to be reflections of each other, where Obi-Wan selflessly prioritizes peace and justice, concerning himself with the safety of others.
What if it is true, and the people are dying?
Either way, we're running out of time.
Maul instead selfishly prioritizes violence and revenge, concerning himself with the destruction of others.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
These ideals that the two hold would bleed over to their fighting styles as duelists, where Obi-Wan prefers to fight defensively and Maul offensively, representing the dichotomy between the Jedi and the Sith as a whole, where the Jedi use the Force for knowledge and defense, and the Sith for power and attack. This idea is reinforced by the respective masters, as Qui-Gon suggests to fortify his spiritual connection with the Force.
Be mindful of the living Force, young Padawan.
And Palpatine suggests to rely on his lethal training.
You have been well trained, my young apprentice. They will be no match for you.
Even the way the two apprentices interact with their masters is a reminder of how the two juxtapose each other. For Maul, he's always fully compliant and blindly subservient to his master without hesitation.
Yes, my master.
For Obi-Wan, he's more than willing to openly question his master's choices.
What if this plan fails, Master? We could be stuck here a very long time.
This, of course, alluding to Obi-Wan's skeptical and at times headstrong tendencies. And Obi-Wan's skepticism is greatly emphasized by his early opinion of the young Anakin Skywalker. While not knowing much about him and never having met him, Obi-Wan mistakenly assumes the worst of Anakin, revealing his more pessimistic side.
Why do I sense we've picked up another pathetic life form?
Turns out Maul's not the only savage in this film, and to think it wouldn't be the last time he roasted Anakin. Oh, wait, sorry, we haven't gotten there yet. On a more serious note though, Obi-Wan's doubtful and arrogant nature continues in the preceding conversations he would have with his master.
The boy will not pass the Council's tests, Master. He's too old.
Anakin will become a Jedi, I promise you.
Again, we see the conflicting philosophies of the Jedi Order versus Qui-Gon on display, as the code relies on arbitrary rules such as age, and Qui-Gon simply relies on the will of the Force.
Do not defy the Council, Master, not again.
I shall do what I must, Obi-Wan.
This concept that Qui-Gon reinforces here is a lesson that Obi-Wan would not fully understand until later in life, as he would go on to tell his apprentice.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes. I will do what I must.
You must do what you feel is right, of course.
Until that time, the youthful Obi-Wan would find it difficult to look beyond the horizon and see what his master was showing him all along, as he continues to focus on abiding by the rules rather than focusing on doing what's right.
If you would just follow the code, you would be on the Council. They will not go along with you this time.
You still have much to learn, my young apprentice.
And learn he would desperately need to, as his doubt in Qui-Gon and the Chosen One would lean on the side of disrespect.
It's not disrespect, Master, it's the truth.
From your point of view?
Here Qui-Gon emphasizes the importance of perspective, as it can impact our reality entirely.
Your focus determines your reality.
For Obi-Wan, he's become stubborn and dead set in his line of thinking, unable to put himself in his master's shoes, another concept that he would only comprehend through his own experiences in life.
You're going to find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view.
But for now, Obi-Wan would simply persist in his line of thought.
The boy is dangerous. They all sense it. Why can't you?
His fate is uncertain. He's not dangerous. The Council will decide Anakin's future. That should be enough for you. Now get on board.
Qui-Gon reminds Obi-Wan that his concerns stem from his fear of the unknown and what he doesn't fully understand. This being in line with Qui-Gon's philosophic approach to the Force, as he focuses on the present and what he can control, never dwelling on the future and the undefined. And while Obi-Wan may be stubborn on this matter, his master has great faith in his ability to improve.
He is headstrong, and he has much to learn of the living Force, but he is capable. There is little more he can learn from me.
I'm sorry for my behavior, Master. It's not my place to disagree with you about the boy. And I am grateful you think I'm ready to take the trials.
You've been a good apprentice, Obi-Wan. And you're a much wiser man than I am. I foresee you will become a great Jedi Knight.
It's here that we see Obi-Wan display some of his greatest strengths, his humility, and his ability to learn from his mistakes. It takes a lot for someone to admit when they're wrong, but for Obi-Wan, it almost comes natural. A characteristic that allows him to constantly evolve and grow as a person, never remaining stagnant for too long, aligning with the great wisdom that Qui-Gon states Obi-Wan possesses. Shortly after the team storms the palace, the duel of the fates begins, as Master and Apprentice face the first known Sith Lord in over a millennia. The Jedi work in tandem to try and best Maul, but unfortunately become separated in the action. It's during this time that Obi-Wan sees from his master the value in meditation, as Qui-Gon reaches out to the Force and brings his mind to a place of peace, a place where he can tell the difference between good and evil.
But how am I to know the good side from the bad?
You will know when you are calm, at peace, passive.
This tranquility in his master being a reflection of what we would see in Obi-Wan in the final moments of his life, as he became more powerful than one could imagine. But for now, when Obi-Wan stands in the very place his master found peace, he's left with an uncontrollable burst of emotions as he must helplessly witness his father figure be killed in front of him. Traditionally, the apprentice must learn to live beyond the master in order to truly become their own self. For Obi-Wan, this is no different, as he's thrust into his trial to become a Jedi Knight, as he alone must face Maul. When the gates open, Obi-Wan drops his defensive mindset and goes in for the attack, clearly filled with pure emotion, whether it be due to the rage, fear, or sadness for the loss of his master. In any case, he utilizes these feelings to go toe-to-toe with Maul, even slicing his weapon in half, but in the end, he becomes unbalanced, losing his weapon and the high ground in the process. It's not until he heeds his master's words that he's able to be truly successful in the fight, allowing his focus to determine his reality, not centering on his fears, rather concentrating on the moment, on the living force. Obi-Wan then uses Maul's hubris against himself as he appropriately uses his master's weapon to defeat his opponent, symbolically representing the completion of his training, as he was once the learner, now he is the master.
Promise me you will train the boy.
Yes, Master.
He is the chosen one. He will bring balance. Train him.
And in Qui-Gon's dying wish, he asks that Obi-Wan continue his mission and train the chosen one. And out of his love for Qui-Gon, he accepts this task without hesitation, not knowing the great challenge that would be in store for him, as the consequences of the duel of the fates would dramatically affect the fate of Anakin. As best said by director and producer Dave Filoni, Qui-Gon knew what it meant to take this kid away from his mother when he had an attachment, and he's left with Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan trains Anakin at first out of a promise he makes to Qui-Gon, not because he cares about him. So he's a brother to Anakin eventually, but he's not a father figure. That's a failing for Anakin. He doesn't have the family he needs. This then being the perfect opportunity for Palpatine to fill the void in Anakin's life.
We will watch your career with great interest.
And so, all that's left for Obi-Wan is to get the Council on board.
But agree with your taking this boy as your Padawan learner? I do not.
Qui-Gon believed in him.
In Obi-Wan's dialogue, his undying faith in Qui-Gon and what he believed in shines, so much so that he even adopts his rebellious tendencies.
I will train Anakin, without the approval of the Council if I must.
Qui-Gon's defiance I sense in you. Need that you do not.
Like Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan is willing to stand for what he believes in, even when others express doubt.
The chosen one the boy may be. Nevertheless, grave danger I fear in his training.
In the end, through Obi-Wan's effort, Qui-Gon's final request is granted.
Agree with you the Council does. Your apprentice, Skywalker, will be.
And when Obi-Wan delivers the news to Anakin, he does so at Qui-Gon's funeral, fitting as the two shared a father figure in common. So naturally, a brotherly bond would form between them.
The Council have granted me permission to train you. You will be a Jedi. I promise.
While the movie ends on a positive note for Obi-Wan as he became Anakin's master, there's a distinct foreboding feeling as Palpatine has begun to obtain power in the Senate, and the Jedi as a whole are unaware of what is to come.
But which was destroyed? The Master or the Apprentice?
And for Obi-Wan, we're left wondering, can the young novice be as great of a master as he was an apprentice? As not all great students make for great teachers. At the start of Attack of the Clones, the Jedi as a whole are shown to be deeply involved in politics, represented by not only the Council meeting with the Chancellor in his office, but with those like Obi-Wan being used again as ambassadors to settle affairs across the galaxy.
He's just returned from a border dispute on Antion.
Obi-Wan, along with all the other Jedi, will soon have their ideals challenged, as Mace claims,
We're keepers of the peace, not soldiers.
But Palpatine plans on pushing this to see how far they will go and what he can make them do, using Obi-Wan as his pawn.
May I suggest the senator be placed under the protection of your graces? Perhaps someone you're familiar with. An old friend like Master Kenobi.
Obi-Wan's name was not only selected because of his ties to Padme, but more importantly, because with Obi-Wan comes Anakin, and Palpatine is willing to use him to set his plan in motion. And upon their return, we get a glimpse into the relationship that has been forged between Obi-Wan and Anakin, as it's been a decade since they become master and apprentice.
You seem a little on edge.
Not at all.
I haven't felt you this tense since we fell into that nest of Gundarks.
Obi-Wan shows that not only can he recognize the tension and conflict in his apprentice, but he does so in a way that would allow his apprentice to open up to him by using a bit of humor calling back to an adventure of theirs. When he realizes that his first tactic doesn't work, he adapts and goes for a more direct approach, letting Anakin know that everything will be fine. Once he does this, then Anakin shows vulnerability and expresses what's bothering him.
You're sweating. Relax. Take a deep breath.
I haven't seen her in 10 years, Master.
While Obi-Wan has thoroughly trained Anakin in the Jedi arts and the way of the Force, it's a failing on Obi-Wan that in these 10 years, he hasn't taught Anakin an ounce of game.
My goodness, you've grown.
So have you. Grown more beautiful, I mean. Well, for a senator, I mean.
And he'll always be that little boy I knew on Tatooine.
We can't all be great at everything, but I digress. It's in this scene that the differing views and underlying tension between Obi-Wan and Anakin is put on full display, as Obi-Wan chooses to strictly comply with the words of the Council.
We're here to protect you, Senator, not to start an investigation.
We will find out who's trying to kill you, Padme. I promise you.
This implying that Obi-Wan and the Council are only willing to do the bare minimum for Padme, whereas Anakin believes that if peace is to truly be achieved, more action should be taken.
We will not exceed our mandate, my young Padawan learner.
I meant it in the interest of protecting her, Master, of course.
We will not go through this exercise again, Anakin, and you will pay attention to my lead.
It's reaffirmed here that Obi-Wan only plans to play by the book, and more importantly, we see Obi-Wan put in a situation where he must deal with insubordination from his apprentice, one of the many challenges he must now face in the role of a master.
Why?
What?
Why else do you think we were assigned to her if not to find the killer? It's overkill, Master. Investigation is implied in our mandate.
We will do exactly as the Council has instructed, and you will learn your place, young one.
While Obi-Wan gets Anakin to quit retaliating, he fails to let his apprentice have a voice, forgetting to put himself in his shoes, as he was once a young apprentice that would openly question his own master's choices. Obi-Wan's decision to shut Anakin down would give relevance to Anakin's complaints later in the film.
He's overly critical. He never listens. He doesn't understand. It's not fair.
This being a reminder that communication is key to building the foundation to any strong relationship. Speaking of relationships, Obi-Wan is faced with the task of counseling Anakin on his relationship with his mother and the concern he has for her well-being.
You look tired.
I don't sleep well anymore.
Because of your mother?
Obi-Wan already knows what ails Anakin, which is half the challenge. The real challenge is in giving him the advice that he needs, as he knows that Anakin can be quick to assume the worst in most scenarios.
You're focusing on the negative, Anakin. Be mindful of your thoughts. She was pleased to see us.
So to balance this, Obi-Wan typically chooses to instead see the silver lining.
I don't know why I keep dreaming about her.
Dreams pass in time.
Although, this brings up another attachment Anakin possesses that Obi-Wan must deal with in Padme.
I'd much rather dream about Padme.
Be mindful of your thoughts, Anakin. They betray you. You've made a commitment to the Jedi Order, a commitment not easily broken. And don't forget, she's a politician and they're not to be trusted.
While Obi-Wan is right in reminding Anakin to be mindful, he does so in a way that fails to connect with Anakin, as the conversation from then on turns into a lecture.
It's not another lecture. At least not on the economics of politics.
Where the conversation initially started as a moment of vulnerability with Anakin choosing to open up to his mentor. This, along with Obi-Wan's tendency to stereotype and compartmentalize people, especially politicians, into boxes, is an approach that lacks too much emotion for Anakin's taste.
You're generalizing. The Chancellor doesn't appear to be corrupt.
Palpatine is a politician.
I have observed that he is very clever in following the passions and prejudices of the senators.
I think he's a good man.
Here we see that Obi-Wan and Anakin have contrasting approaches to judging others, as one is guided by feeling, and the other tends to disregard them. In Anakin's case, this allows him to see the good in Padme and look beyond the label of being just another politician, although this comes at the cost of being blinded by the self-interested nature of Palpatine. As for Obi-Wan, he can more easily disassociate himself from any relationship he may have with Palpatine, as he chooses to strictly analyze his actions as a Chancellor and ensures to keep him at an arm's distance. Although this comes at the price of being unable to separate Padme from her job title, as he's quick to stereotype her rather than see her as a person first. This overall being a reminder that balance is key. It's during and leading into the second assassination attempt on Padme's life that the tension between Obi-Wan and Anakin is further highlighted, this coming from how critical Obi-Wan can be of his apprentice.
Trust me. It's too risky. Besides, your senses aren't that attuned to my young apprentice.
And yours are.
Possibly.
That never gets old. Obi-Wan's critical nature stems from his inability to fully trust Anakin, not showing enough confidence in his ability to handle the situation on his own, which is why he takes matters headfirst into his own hands. Just kidding. While jumping out of a window is a bit reckless, it shows that Anakin is not the only impulsive one in the relationship, but more so for Obi-Wan. While he may echo the words of the Council, when he was given a split second to make a choice, he chose to do what he felt was right, to take action in fighting Padme's killer. And in the action that ensues, Obi-Wan never misses out on an opportunity to humble his young apprentice.
You spent as much time practicing your saber techniques as you do your wit you would rival Master Yoda as a swordsman. I thought I already did. Only in your mind, my very young apprentice.
While it is necessary to humble Anakin to subdue his arrogance, at the rate Obi-Wan is doing it, it only encourages Anakin to further prove his master wrong, which is why he constantly seems to make the same mistakes over and over again, even though Obi-Wan has advised him countless times to be more cautious.
How many times I told you? Stay away from hard couplings!
I hate it when he does that.
You know I don't like it when you do that.
Sorry, Master. I forgot you don't like flying.
I don't mind flying, but what you're doing is suicide.
This, of course, leading to Anakin's disobedience, which almost cost them their lead.
Where are you going? He went that way.
Master, if we keep this chase going any longer, that creep is gonna end up deep fried. This is a shortcut, I think.
That was some shortcut, Anakin. He went completely the other way.
Fortunately for Anakin and Obi-Wan, they're able to track the bounty hunter to the club, which Obi-Wan utilizes as a teaching moment.
Patience. Use the Force. Think.
Sorry, Master.
You went in there to hide, not to run.
Yes, Master.
Next time, try not to lose it.
Yes, Master.
This weapon is your life.
While Anakin clearly just wants to pursue the chase and end things as quickly as possible, Obi-Wan reminds him to be patient, flipping his perspective and looking at the scenario from an advantageous standpoint. Because they have the bounty hunter cornered, the opportunity will eventually present itself, so there's no need to rush, as further impulsive actions will just lead to more chaos. Obi-Wan also emphasizes the importance of his lightsaber, as not only is it the weapon that can physically defend him in a life-or-death situation, but more importantly, it's what the weapon stands for, as the lightsaber can be seen as a symbol of a Jedi's deep commitment to the Force, and their overall focus on being a guardian of peace.
The Jedi must have the deepest commitment, the most serious mind. You are reckless.
While Yoda tells this to Luke, the idea applies to his father as well, as his hasty actions are a cause for concern to his master.
Why do I get the feeling you're going to be the death of me?
Don't say that, Master. You're the closest thing I have to a father.
Then why don't you listen to me?
I am trying.
This, of course, foreshadowing Obi-Wan's fate, as well as highlighting the idea that while Anakin may not always follow instruction, he does genuinely care for Obi-Wan beyond being just his master, but as his family as well.
Go and find her.
Where are you going, Master?
For a drink.
Obi-Wan here goes on to prove that he can drink on the job and still get things done, and he does so effectively that not only does he catch their assassin, but he also brings positive change to another stranger's life.
You want to buy some death sticks?
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks.
You want to go home and rethink your life.
I want to go home and rethink my life.
Unfortunately for Obi-Wan and Anakin, while they catch their assassin, they're now only left with the toxic dart as a clue to who is behind this plot. What's important about this is that it directly leads to the parting of master and apprentice, as they must go on their own separate adventures.
Track down this bounty hunter, you must, Obi-Wan.
Find out who he's working for.
What about Senator Amidala? She will still need protecting.
Handle that. Your Padawan will.
With this being the first time that the two are split up from each other for an extended period of time, Obi-Wan's work to this point as a master will be truly tested, as Anakin must operate on his own for the first time. And it's only fitting that leading into Anakin's mission, we see the contrasting dialogue from Anakin's two mentor figures, where Palpatine only has encouraging words, highlighting Anakin's unlimited potential. Obi-Wan simply expresses the concern that comes with that potential.
In time, you will learn to trust your feelings. Then you will be invincible. I see you becoming the greatest of all Jedi, Anakin. Even more powerful than Master Yoda.
I am concerned for my Padawan. He is not ready to be given this assignment on his own yet, but he still has much to learn, Master. His abilities have made him, well, arrogant.
Obi-Wan is let down by the Council here as its leading members fail to take his concerns with more caution, as they remain confident in their decision, even though Obi-Wan knows Anakin better than virtually anyone, with Obi-Wan understanding that placing him on this assignment may bode for more serious consequences than they can imagine.
Remember, Obi-Wan, the prophecy is true. Your apprentice is the only one who can bring the Force back into balance.
Yet again, we're reminded of the immense pressure that has been bestowed upon not only Anakin, but Obi-Wan as the master of the Chosen One. What makes matters even more difficult is that Anakin is his first student, so all his mistakes with him will show even more so, as in many ways Obi-Wan is still learning to be a teacher. And it's through Anakin that we see both the good and the bad of Obi-Wan's teachings.
Don't get me wrong, Obi-Wan is a great mentor, as wise as Master Yoda and as powerful as Master Windu. I am truly thankful to be his apprentice. He's overly critical, he never listens, he doesn't understand. It's not fair.
For Obi-Wan, Anakin's perception of him is crucial, as it's one of the most important parts of being a mentor, the ability to inspire your pupil. But unfortunately in this case, Obi-Wan is seen as more of an obstacle rather than a guide along Anakin's journey.
All mentors have a way of seeing more of our faults than we would like. It's the only way we grow.
Obi-Wan's challenge is to find a balance between finding Anakin's faults and still motivating him to stay along the correct path and properly grow as a person, as currently he can come across as strict and overbearing to Anakin.
Anakin, don't do anything without first consulting either myself or the Council.
Yes, Master.
This stringency stemming from a lack of trust, knowing how stubborn and impulsive his apprentice can be, something Anakin shares with Padme.
I do hope he doesn't try anything foolish.
I'd be more concerned about her doing something than him.
And so, Obi-Wan's investigation begins, and when he gets stuck, he pays an old friend a visit for their insight.
What you got here is a Kamino saber dart.
I wonder why it didn't show up in the analysis archives.
Obi-Wan's initial approach shows how the Jedi have become more reliant on the technology they have to answer their questions, to the point that it hinders their ability to see things for what they are, or even could be. A point that's then articulated well by Dexter Jettster.
I should think that you Jedi would have more respect for the difference between knowledge and wisdom.
Dexter makes a solid point about one of the many flaws of the Jedi of the Republic era, as they seem to be more concerned with obtaining knowledge over wisdom. To put it simply, knowledge can be seen as the amount of stuff that we know. It's just information. Whereas wisdom is how we use what we know. It can be seen as the form of utilizing experience, this allowing us to see the difference between a truth and a lie, or make a choice between right and wrong. The Jedi's reliance on things such as droids is a microcosm of how the Jedi rely on knowledge alone, although what makes Obi-Wan special is his wisdom to search for the truth in other ways, which is why he's willing to seek out help by other means, by a friend of his in Dexter, as he obtains wisdom that can't be found in a droid due to his experiences. One of the things that make people so different from machines, as we're a makeup of our experiences.
Well, if droids could think, there'd be none of us here, would there?
A prime example of how the Jedi have become more like machines can be found in Jocasta Nu, who proves to be useless to Obi-Wan in his investigation.
Looks like the system you're searching for doesn't exist.
Impossible. Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist.
Obi-Wan shows that he's willing to ask the simple question, what if? Reminiscent of his master in Qui-Gon, as he's more willing to be an individual thinker. It's because of this that he continues his search for answers rather than accepting defeat and turns to Yoda for his intuition.
I'm looking for a planet described to me by an old friend. I trust him, but the systems don't show in the archive maps.
A thought?
Because someone erased it from the archive memory.
It's here that Obi-Wan ironically gets a better answer to his question from a youngling, rather than the older master in Jocasta Nu, showing how with age can come stubbornness and an unwillingness to open your mind to all possibilities. And the fact that Obi-Wan and Yoda are willing to take the youngling's advice shows how not only do they truly value everyone's opinion, but how in actions like these, they become wiser than the average Jedi. And they'll need all the wisdom they can get as the mystery only thickens from this point on.
Who could empty information from the archives? That's impossible, isn't it?
Only a Jedi could have erased those files. But who and why? Harder to answer.
so Obi-Wan traverses to the lost planet, being rewarded for listening to the advice of others.
There it is, R4. Right where it should be. Our missing planet, Kamino.
It's on this planet that Obi-Wan is presented with the unexpected.
200,000 units are ready, with 1 million more well on the way.
That's good news.
In this conversation, Obi-Wan showcases his ability to adapt to any scenario and communicate with others with very little information at hand. He understands that while he may have no idea what the Prime Minister is talking about, he can still leverage the situation in his favor, as the opportunity to ask the right questions will present itself.
Tell me, Prime Minister, when my master first contacted you about the army, did he say who it was for?
Of course he did. This army is for the Republic.
And it's with this information that Obi-Wan knows it's in his best interest to keep the act up.
But you must be anxious to inspect the units for yourself.
That's why I'm here.
Obi-Wan then continues to play the detective and examines the clones, gaining insight to what they're capable of.
They are totally obedient, taking any order without question.
Although he finds them very impressive, Obi-Wan knows that his detective work wouldn't be complete without a proper interrogation, which is why he's more than willing to meet with the clone's host.
I should very much like to meet this Jango Fett. Your clones are very impressive. You must be very proud.
I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe.
The dialogue between Obi-Wan and Jango is a prime example of how subtext sets the tone between the two characters. On the surface, Obi-Wan proceeds to ask Jango harmless questions, and Jango simply replies to them. But when you read between the lines, tension is being built between the two, as it feels more like an interrogation, as the two know more than they're letting on. Jango in particular manages to say nothing and everything at the same time, dancing around the idea that they've encountered each other before.
Ever made your way as far into the interior as Coruscant?
Once or twice.
Recently?
Possibly.
Interestingly enough, while Jango may be the antagonist in this scene, he never lies, even helping Obi-Wan by giving him the name of the man he really should be looking for.
Cypher Diaz.
Never heard of him.
Really?
I was recruited by a man called Tyrannus on one of the moons of Bogdan.
Curious.
And while Obi-Wan has actually been given answers, he leaves with only more questions.
Do you like your army?
I look forward to seeing them in action.
They'll do their job well. I'll guarantee that.
Jango's subtext implies that he's a threat that's not to be reckoned with. Obi-Wan and the Republic may be gaining an army, but that doesn't make him safe. And if that's not enough, Jango leaves him with a veiled threat on his way out.
Thank you for your time, Jango.
Always a pleasure to meet a Jedi.
With this newfound information on Kamino, Obi-Wan turns to the Council to report his findings.
Do you think these cloners are involved in the plot to assassinate Senator Amidala?
No, Master, there appears to be no motive.
Do not assume anything, Obi-Wan. Clear your mind must be if you are to discover the real villains behind this plot.
While Obi-Wan is able to deduce who the assassin is, unfortunately he finds out that this means nothing without a why, as motive would shed light on their mystery.
Did the Council ever authorize the creation of a clone army?
No. Whoever placed that order did not have the authorization of the Jedi Council.
Unfortunately for Obi-Wan, the Council fails him again, and the Jedi's ignorance put on full display, as something this pivotal slipped under their noses.
Blind we are. With creation of this clone army, we could not see.
So because
Master Cypher Diaz was killed almost 10 years ago,
the Council aims to finish what Obi-Wan started and interrogate Jango further.
Bring him here. Question him. We will.
When Obi-Wan arrives as Jango tries to leave, he's not met with a warm welcome. Things become hostile very quickly, and the duel begins between the two. The fighters can be seen as the symbolic representations of the servants, or similar to the name of Jango's ship, slaves of their own factions. Where it's understood that Obi-Wan is a servant of the Council, as he must abide by their orders and the Republic's alike. For Jango, while being a bounty hunter would make him seem more free as he makes his own decisions, he still lacks true choice, as he must always comply with those that hire him. It doesn't help either that the Kaminoans state that they keep him there.
And where is this bounty hunter now?
Oh, we keep him here.
Making his home seem more like a cell, even if he does get paid a considerable amount for it. Overall, the two can be seen as the best versions of the thousands of Jedi and clones that mirror them, just copy and paste images that must remain obedient to their masters. In the end, after scraping tooth and nail, the two reach a stalemate of sorts, with Obi-Wan feigning death, with Obi-Wan proving what he would one day advise to Han, as there are alternatives to fighting, using this to his advantage as he places a tracker on Jango's ship. And as he tracks down Jango to Geonosis, the fighting continues, only this time in the planet's ring.
Blast, this is why I hate flying.
Part of that statement is obviously because of the physical life or death situation he's in, but he also hates flying because of the utter chaos. The immense amount of freedom that flying grants you also lends itself towards everyone wanting to live by their own rules. This is why people who love being pilots, like Anakin and Han, are normally the ones who thrive in the chaos. But Obi-Wan prefers order, for when conflict arrives, he prefers to be able to talk his way out of a situation, and for both parties to leave peacefully. So when it gets to a point that he realizes he can't simply win, Obi-Wan elects to get more mileage off of faking his death once more, ensuring that Jango would lead him straight to Dooku. And upon finding Dooku, Obi-Wan discovers an alarming truth to the Separatist plans.
We shall have an army greater than any in the galaxy. The Jedi will be overwhelmed. The Republic will agree to any demands we make.
With Obi-Wan overhearing this, he would then deliver the message of the war that is to come, as well as how Nute Gunray is behind the assassination attempts on Padme. This would start a chain reaction to Anakin, the Jedi, and the Republic, all setting them into a frenzy caused by their own fears. Anakin rushes to save Obi-Wan out of his compassion for him. The Jedi rush to save him and stop the war before it begins, and the Republic rushes to gain control of the clones to protect themselves as they believe that war is inevitable. Ironically, all these actions to stop war simply speed up the process, playing right into Palpatine's hand. Of course though, they don't have Obi-Wan, the future negotiator, with them to bring a more peaceful option. With Obi-Wan captured, Dooku decides to pay him a visit.
Traitor.
And without any hesitation, Obi-Wan is quick to let Dooku know just how he feels about him, as someone who simply betrayed the Order by leaving them, once again generalizing another person's character as he did with Padme and Palpatine, rather than taking a moment to see things from Dooku's perspective and try to understand how the Order might have failed him.
Oh no, my friend. This is a mistake, a terrible mistake. They've gone too far. This is madness.
I thought you were the leader here, Dooku.
Dooku shows early on that he, just like Obi-Wan, knows how to play dumb where it may benefit him.
This had nothing to do with me, I assure you. I will petition immediately to have you set free.
Well, I hope it doesn't take too long. I have work to do.
While Obi-Wan may be in a disadvantageous position, being chained with no physical control over his fate, this never breaks his spirit, as his wit shines in a situation where most others would fold or cower in fear, as Dooku has all the power in this scenario.
I've been tracking a bounty hunter named Jango Fett. Do you know him?
There are no bounty hunters here that I am aware of. The Geonosians don't trust them.
Well, who can blame them? But he is here, I can assure you.
Just like Obi-Wan's conversation with Jango, Dooku never lies, but fails to directly answer Obi-Wan's questions. Although in this conversation, it's even less likely that Obi-Wan would receive a straight answer as Dooku is in control. But that won't ever stop Obi-Wan from giving his best effort to try to communicate with others and obtain knowledge from them.
It's a great pity that our paths have never crossed before, Obi-Wan. Qui-Gon always spoke very highly of you.
I wish you were still alive. I could use his help right now.
It's here that we're reminded of the connection that Obi-Wan and Dooku share in Qui-Gon, in a sense being cut from the same cloth, as all three characters are considered more individual thinkers than the average Jedi, and willing to do their own thing to follow the will of the Force, but all at different levels, where Dooku is the most radical, as he left the Order entirely. Qui-Gon is in the middle and stayed in the Order, but he never joined the Council as he utilized his own philosophy, and Obi-Wan would be the most conservative, and go on to be the only one of the three to join the Council. It would only be until the Order fell that Obi-Wan would truly see the error in his ways and live more by his master's philosophy. It's a representation of how over the years, or generations even, the Jedi have become more dogmatic, which is why Dooku left, because he had the wisdom to foresee what was coming. Also, this shows from Dooku's point of view that there are people that he truly cared about, similar to Obi-Wan and how both wanted to live more like Qui-Gon, but interpreted his philosophy quite differently.
Qui-Gon Jinn would never join you.
He knew all about the corruption in the Senate, but he would never have gone along with it if he had learned the truth as I have.
The truth?
The truth.
It's here that Obi-Wan becomes even more receptive to what Dooku has to say, not only because of the implied greater level of corruption than what was already assumed in politics, but because Dooku has a great grasp of the type of person Qui-Gon was, as Obi-Wan has.
What if I told you that the Republic was now under the control of the Dark Lord of the Sith?
No, that's not possible. The Jedi would be aware of it.
Obi-Wan answers candidly, as he truly believes that the Jedi should be able to sense the Dark Lord. Unfortunately, this is a failing on the Jedi, as they arrogantly overestimate their abilities as a whole, and it doesn't help that their leading members aren't fully transparent with them either, as May stated.
I think it is time we inform the Senate that our ability to use the Force is diminished.
While Obi-Wan was willing to hear Dooku out, This lack of trust in him causes him to interpret what he's saying as a lie, even though he's being completely honest.
Hundreds of senators are now under the influence of a Sith Lord called Darth Sidious.
I don't believe you.
A reminder that trust is one of the most important things to possess when trying to convince someone of anything, even if it isn't true.
You must join me, Obi-Wan, and together we will destroy the Sith.
I will never join you, Dooku.
And so Dooku fails to persuade Obi-Wan to take his proposition, and Obi-Wan passes a trial of temptation, as bringing peace is the ultimate goal of the Jedi. So eliminating their sworn enemy in the Sith and stopping a war before it happens could tempt someone who allows fear to control their actions. But Obi-Wan doesn't let fear compromise his judgment, reminding us he truly is a worthy Jedi. Of course, Dooku can't help but be a little petty about Obi-Wan's unbreakable moral compass.
It may be difficult to secure your release.
It's from here that Obi-Wan is taken to the Geonosis execution arena, and if it wasn't bad enough that he already was sentenced to be killed, to take it a step further, we see the visible disappointment on Obi-Wan's face when his young apprentice arrives chained for the same sentence.
I was beginning to wonder if you'd got my message.
I retransmitted it just as you had requested, Master. Then we decided to come and rescue you.
Good job.
Even upon certain death, Obi-Wan will always maintain his title as the Sass Master and the greatest Star Wars character of all time. Wait 1 second, this is way too early. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Just relax, concentrate.
While Obi-Wan may want nothing more than to tell his apprentice, "I told you so," for the rest of his existence, he instead shows he has the mental fortitude to cast aside his pride and prioritize the task at hand, as their survival depends on it. Advising Anakin a more patient and defensive approach to the fight, allowing things to come to him, because Anakin is known to rush into things more aggressively, and luckily for Obi-Wan, he doesn't have to concern himself with Padme about such matters.
What about Padme?
She seems to be on top of things.
While Obi-Wan prefers not to fight, he proves once again that when you force his hand, he's a valiant warrior that can hold his own. After taking down the beasts, the Jedi arrive to the rescue, but the strike team is met with utter chaos as violent madness ensues, with both sides taking blows. When the battle comes to a pause, fittingly enough, Obi-Wan is seen checking on the dead and wounded Jedi, a reminder that we may not all enjoy the things that we're good at. This being juxtaposed to a revered warrior such as Mace, who's willing to fight to the end, no matter what.
Surrender, and your lives will be spared.
We will not be hostages to be bartered, Dooku.
Upon leaving the arena after the clones arrive, things are looking up for Obi-Wan and Anakin's relationship, as Obi-Wan is quick to give positive reinforcement to Anakin.
Aim right above the fuel cells.
Good call, my young Padawan.
And when faced with the opportunity to confront Dooku, Obi-Wan rightfully shows confidence in his young apprentice, understanding the importance that it would have on the outcome of their inevitable duel.
Follow him!
We're gonna need some help.
There isn't time! Anakin and I can handle this!
Although, unfortunately, things take a turn for the worse, as Padme falls out of the transport and the team is left with a difficult decision. And tension rises as Anakin and Obi-Wan aren't exactly on the same page.
Put the ship down! Anakin! Don't let your personal feelings get in the way!
Obi-Wan is yet again put to the test, as now he's tasked with getting his fearful apprentice to see eye to eye with him. So Obi-Wan does all that he can to bring him to his senses.
Lower the ship! I can't take Dooku alone! I need you! If we catch him, we can end this war right now! We have a job to do! I don't care! Put the ship down!
First, he expresses vulnerability and weakness, reminding Anakin that he's as important to taking Dooku down as anything else, and that if he sacrifices her for the greater good, then he could save countless lives, in line with the idea that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
You will be expelled from the Jedi Order! I can't leave her!
Then Obi-Wan continues with a more logical approach, reminding him that he would lose all his life's work in an instant by committing treason.
Come to your senses! What do you think Padme would do were she in your position? She would do her duty.
When all else fails, Obi-Wan appeals to Anakin's emotions as he flips the script and asks Anakin to put himself in her shoes, and vice versa. Only then does he begin to calm down, as Anakin respects and admires the type of person that Padme is, and he realizes that she would make the tough choice that he's afraid to make. Obi-Wan does a great job here of aligning his apprentice's desires with his for the greater good, and for Anakin's own sake as well, as he would have given up everything he's worked for in a split second. A reminder that sometimes a mentor is needed to save us from our worst enemy, ourselves.
You're gonna pay for all the Jedi that you killed today, Dooku.
We'll take them together. You're going slowly on the left.
Taking
now! No, Anakin, no!
Unfortunately though, by the time they confront Dooku, Anakin is still hot-headed and rushes in to attack rather than heeding the words of his master, a reminder that the two are just never on the same page. This juxtaposing Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon as well, as while they may have had their own differences, they were always able to settle them and work together. This is most relevant in how their duels against the respective Sith apprentices goes, as Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon fought with extreme coordination against Maul, with them only failing when they were separated. Comparatively, Obi-Wan and Anakin have to verbally bicker to even be in the same book, and yet they still never get to actually fight Dooku together at all in this encounter, showing how they need to work further on their relationship to thrive and have any positive results.
As you see, my Jedi powers are far beyond yours. Now, back down.
I don't think so.
While Obi-Wan has expressed that he believes he cannot defeat Dooku alone, he never shows it to him as he can't be intimidated by him, even when Dooku tries to take jabs at his skills.
Master Kenobi, you disappoint me. Yoda holds you in such high esteem. Surely you can do better.
And both Obi-Wan and Anakin's skills aren't enough, as master and apprentice must bask in their failure, as their lack of teamwork lands them with needing to be saved by Yoda, Anakin losing a piece of himself, and the start of a war that could have been prevented. And the movie ends on a foreboding note for Obi-Wan, as the Council, the Republic, and his apprentice all have failed him.
Do you believe what Count Dooku said about Sidious controlling the Senate?
Join the dark side. Dooku has. Lies, deceit, creating mistrust are his ways now.
Even after all that Obi-Wan has learned throughout the film, the Council fails him by not taking his information with more caution or consideration, as Obi-Wan himself is willing to take Dooku's words as a possible truth, but the Council chooses to be blind.
I have to admit that without the clones, it would not have been a victory.
Victory, not victory. The shroud of the dark side has fallen. Begun. The Clone War has.
While they did win the battle, it came at the price of starting a war, and the Jedi are in for a rude awakening with the beginning of the Clone Wars, as the Republic has granted Palpatine more power, made soldiers out of the peacekeeping Jedi, and unknowingly planted the seeds of the Empire.
Where is your apprentice?
On his way to Naboo, escorting Senator Amidala home.
With Anakin marrying Padme, Obi-Wan is left to handle the consequences of Anakin's newly formed attachment, as their forbidden love could spell Anakin's downfall. So it rests on Obi-Wan's shoulders to guide his apprentice along the right path, as he would be tempted, or even manipulated, into giving in to his fears. This would prove to be Obi-Wan's toughest challenge yet as a mentor, as at the end of the day, he's still a continual learner. At the start of Revenge of the Sith, we see that war has become commonplace for the people of the Republic, as the Separatists kidnap the Chancellor himself. This normalization of violence is furthered as we see Obi-Wan and Anakin leading the mission to rescue Palpatine, as the chaos that ensues takes place on the orbital surface of Coruscant, the very planet intended to symbolize peace for the Republic as the capital of the galaxy. The perfect synchronization between Anakin and Obi-Wan highlights the strides that they've made in their relationship, as they're on the same page more than ever, working cohesively to get the job done, showing that through the conflict of war, Master and Apprentice have created a tighter bond with one another.
Master, General Grievous' ship is directly ahead.
Oh, I see it. Oh, this is going to be easy.
As we know, Obi-Wan never truly enjoys the fighting or the flying, but he puts up with it for the greater good.
This is where the fun begins.
Let them pass between us.
Here we're reminded of Anakin and Obi-Wan's differing approaches, where Anakin has a daredevil or fearless nature, embracing the action head-on at any risk, and Obi-Wan has an optimal mindset, always taking the safest route that will lead to success. This also carries over to how they respond to the clones being taken down one at a time.
I'm gonna go help them out.
No, they are doing their job, then we can do ours.
While to an extent Obi-Wan is right to keep Anakin focused on the mission, one can't help but wonder if Obi-Wan has become partially desensitized to the clones' deaths, a potential result of being in the war for so long. And the statement itself almost comes across as if he sees their main purpose is to die, so others could live. Either way, Anakin's compassion for others shines through here, and Obi-Wan's obedience to playing by the book rivals it, a sign of how this difference in philosophy will force the two to be at opposite sides by the end of the film. Their differing philosophies are also highlighted by the way they deal with conflict, this time in the form of the tracking missiles. Anakin is more emotion-based as he takes the more fun approach by tricking the missiles into running into each other for just the humor of it, whereas Obi-Wan specifies,
Alright, R4. No, nothing too fancy.
and uses the logical approach by nearing another object so that he could be detected and tracked by the missile. It also emphasizes the offensive versus defensive mentality the two have, as Anakin wants to eliminate his threat immediately, where Obi-Wan is willing to wait and then exploit a weakness when the opportunity arrives.
R4, be careful, you haven't... Oh dear.
I just threw this in because it's funny.
Move to the right so I can get a clear shot at them.
Get to the command ship, get the Chancellor. I'm running out of tricks here.
Once again, Anakin's aggressive nature is put on full display, and Obi-Wan puts the mission first, even before his own life. Their ideals clash again as Anakin believes that if there's a will, there's a way, and he won't rest until he ensures those he cares about are safe alongside him at all costs, whereas Obi-Wan is always prepared to pay the ultimate price if it guarantees the protection of others. Essentially, both have a hero complex of sorts, always striving to be the hero of a situation, but one ideally believes that everyone can be saved, and the other realistically believes that it's not always the case. So it's his job to be the sacrificed life so others could live, similar to the clones from earlier. Their differing outlooks is simply summarized by this exchange.
Get out of here! There's nothing more you can do!
I'm not leaving without you, Master.
Of course though, Anakin is persistent, as he's willing to try anything to save his master.
Hold your fire! You're not helping here!
I agree. Bad idea.
This shows how in the heat of the moment, Anakin can become blind to the consequences of his actions, as he clearly puts Obi-Wan in danger, and continues to do so as he cycles through ideas.
Move to the right.
Hold on, Anakin! You're gonna get us both killed!
Comparatively, Obi-Wan prioritizes the consequences and sees how while Anakin's head might be in the right place morally, it needs to be held in check logically. And to cap off and highlight their attack versus defense tactics, we see them give R2 very different strategies, with Anakin generally advising to hit and not be hit in return.
Get him, R2. Watch out.
Obi-Wan advises to attack with purpose and focus on an area that exposes a weak point.
R2, hit the bus droid, center eye!
In the end, the two are able to make it to Grievous' ship despite their differences. In some ways, that's why the two work as a team, as together they balance each other out as yin and yang.
Well, have you noticed the shields are still up?
Sorry, Master.
Oh, I have a bad feeling about this.
Once on the ship, Obi-Wan and Anakin show again how effective they can be when they work together.
I sense Count Dooku.
I sense a trap.
Next move?
Spring the trap.
They complement each other well, as Anakin thinks emotionally, sensing a man that has wronged him, where Obi-Wan thinks rationally, sensing the deception in their mission, thus allowing them to proceed with caution and be ready for anything as long as they stick together. A small detail, but you get the feeling of the circle of life now being complete, as now Obi-Wan and Anakin are being cornered by droidekas, where once it was Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. Just a reminder of the years that they've been master and apprentice, and how now Obi-Wan is experiencing life on the other side, now as the master rather than the learner.
Well, there's more than one way out of here.
We don't want to get out, we want to get moving. R2, activate elevator. 311, step 4.
On the elevator, it's clear that Obi-Wan has yet to teach Anakin true patience, as his impulsiveness strikes yet again.
Always on the move.
In either case, the two stubbornly try out their ideas and almost get themselves killed for it. But luckily, they survive and have enough energy to still argue about it with each other, only as best friends do.
What was that all about?
Well, R2 has been...
no loose wire jokes.
Did I say anything?
He's trying.
I didn't say anything.
But at least Anakin has R2's back. And so, the two arrive to save Palpatine, only to be met with the challenge of facing their adversary that easily bested them once before.
This time we will do it together.
I was about to say that.
While Anakin has definitely matured over the years, he still very much needs guidance, and Obi-Wan recognizes this and is willing to be the play caller they need. Anakin's response also shows how he's learned over the years from the mistake of not heeding Obi-Wan's words, as usually we learn more from defeat than victory.
Get help, you're no match for him. He's a Sith Lord.
Chancellor Palpatine, Sith Lords are our speciality.
Of course, Palpatine probably has to work hard to contain himself from laughing, but really, Obi-Wan is reminding us that he truly has the confidence to take on anyone, and rightfully so, as he's the only living Jedi to have defeated a Sith Lord to this point.
Your swords, please. We don't want to make a mess of things in front of the Chancellor.
You won't get away this time, Dooku.
Obi-Wan and Anakin are clearly more on the same page when it comes to dueling, as their failure in Episode 2 has been addressed over the years, with the two working together to tire out Dooku. With this in mind, Dooku must divide and conquer if he wants a chance at winning, so he focuses on ridding himself of Obi-Wan, not only because of his threat as a duelist in general, but because out of the two Jedi, when placed alone, Anakin is corruptible, and Obi-Wan is not.
Sense great fear in you, Skywalker. You have hate, you have anger, but you don't use them.
With Obi-Wan out of the fight, it's up to his apprentice to make the right choice preceding his victory.
Kill him now.
Do it.
And of course, he listens to the devil on his shoulder in Palpatine, rather than his conscience in Obi-Wan.
Yes, but he was an unarmed prisoner. I shouldn't have done that. It's not the Jedi way.
In other words, it's not Obi-Wan's way. Following the duel, we're then reminded of how while Obi-Wan may be Anakin's conscience, there are still things that Anakin is not willing to admit to him.
Remember what you told me about your mother and the Sand People?
Although at the end of the day, he's still his brother, as he has too much love and compassion for his mentor to leave him for dead.
Leave him, or we'll never make it.
His fate will be the same as ours.
While the Jedi Code may advise no attachments, the bond that the two share is genuine brotherly love, one that would be put to the test by the end of the film.
Easy! We're in a bit of a situation here. Did I miss something?
And just like that, Obi-Wan finds himself in yet another pickle. While Anakin may typically be the spontaneous one, Obi-Wan proves that he can improvise as well when needed.
Hold on. What is that? Oops. R2, shut down the elevator.
Too late, jump! Wait a minute. How did this happen? We're smarter than this.
Apparently not.
Hard to argue with that. As ridiculous of a situation that they may have found themselves in, they have to deal with it. And similar to how Obi-Wan has learned from his apprentice, a bit of Obi-Wan has rubbed off on Anakin, as now he is the one to suggest the waiting game.
I say patience.
Patience?
Yes. R2 will be along in a few moments, and then he'll release the ray shields.
Obi-Wan is willing to hear out his apprentice's plan for what it is, as doing nothing with purpose is actually choosing to do something. Although, he just can't help but rub it in when his plan goes wrong.
Do you have a plan B?
Once captured, Obi-Wan and the team must deal with General Grievous directly, and it's here in their interactions that Grievous is used to juxtapose Obi-Wan and highlight his character traits.
The negotiator, General Kenobi. We've been waiting for you. That wasn't much of a rescue.
With Obi-Wan's moniker being used, we're reminded again of the peaceful person that Obi-Wan prefers to be, as he's built a reputation during the Clone Wars of compromising with others over fighting, and being successful at it. This being in line with his defensive mentality, one of the pillars of being a Jedi as they use the Force for knowledge and defense, never attack. Comparatively, Grievous, like his namesake, symbolizes the severe pain and agony that comes from violence and war, as he relishes in his militaristic victories, saving trophies of his fallen enemies.
Your lightsabers will make a fine addition to my collection.
Like Grievous, Obi-Wan's a great warrior as well, but he chooses to remain humble where Grievous shows pride. Even Grievous's condescending nature is mirrored by Obi-Wan's respectful attitude.
I was expecting someone with your reputation to be a little older.
General Grievous, you're shorter than I expected.
Jedi scum.
We have a job to do, Anakin. Try not to upset him.
And then, Plan B is initiated, with chaos ensuing.
Not this time, and this time you won't escape.
And in the chaos, Grievous's true colors show. Where we know Obi-Wan has been established to prioritize others, Grievous always puts himself first, even endangering his shipmates, even if they are just droids.
Stay at your stations. Don't bother with them. Keep the ship in orbit.
As well, Obi-Wan's courage is mirrored by Grievous's cowardice and craven nature.
You lose, General Kenobi.
He lacks the confidence to face Obi-Wan and Anakin on his own, so he delays the inevitable. As Mace would describe,
General Grievous will run and hide as he always does. He's a coward.
This being the opposite of Obi-Wan, as he never fears being outmatched, even if his opponent is far more skilled than him, just like in his duels with Maul, Dooku, and eventually, his own apprentice.
Can you fly a cruiser like this? Well, under the circumstances, I'd say the ability to pilot this thing is irrelevant. Strap yourselves in.
Obi-Wan knows where his apprentice's strengths and weaknesses are, just like he understands his own. Where Obi-Wan is not a fan of flying and Anakin is an ace pilot himself, he knows to defer to Anakin and his expertise, showing that Obi-Wan is not too prideful to take a back seat and take orders from his student, as he can learn something from him in this situation.
We lost something.
Not to worry, we are still flying half a ship.
And it's in this circumstance that we see Obi-Wan's undying optimism, as he quite literally has a glass half full mentality, just after losing literally half the cruiser. And in the end, it's just another successful day at work.
Another happy landing.
And to celebrate their success, the Senate is ready to greet the Jedi Knights upon their arrival, but Obi-Wan wants nothing to do with it.
Are you coming, Master?
Oh no, I'm not brave enough for politics. I have to report to the Council. Besides, someone needs to be the poster boy.
It's clear Obi-Wan doesn't want to go, but he uses his exceptional conversation skills to reframe the topic and provide an argument as to why Anakin should go instead.
Hold on. This whole operation was your idea.
Let us not forget, Anakin, that you rescued me from the buzz droids. And you killed Count Dooku, and you rescued the Chancellor, carrying me unconscious on your back.
This being an example of the typical banter and friendly nature between the two characters, as well as Obi-Wan's ability to persuade people, even his apprentice.
All because of your training.
Today you are the hero, and you deserve your glorious day with the politicians.
Although Anakin tries, he's no match for his master on this one.
But you owe me one, and not for saving your skin for the 10th time.
9th time. That business on Cato Nemoidia doesn't count.
This also shows that the two really aren't a fan of politics, even though their entire life has become centered around it. They avoid it when they can, as they would rather focus on being Jedi and following the will of the Force, which is how it should be. Unfortunately, the Council seems to mostly follow the code and the will of the Senate.
The Senate will vote to continue the war as long as Grievous is alive.
Then the Jedi Council will make finding Grievous our highest priority.
The Council, and in turn Obi-Wan, is manipulated to do the Chancellor's biddings, and as a result, this further isolates the Jedi across the galaxy, and eventually, Obi-Wan from Anakin. This would prove to have a huge impact on Anakin's turn, as Obi-Wan wouldn't be there to provide him with the guidance he would need. Instead, Palpatine would be able to counter Obi-Wan as the mentor to Anakin, as they'll play tug-of-war for the most important piece to the puzzle to determining the fate of the galaxy. Unfortunately for Obi-Wan, he's completely unaware of what Palpatine has up his sleeve.
Soon I will have a new apprentice, one far younger and more powerful.
And on Anakin's side of things, we see how he feels about approaching Obi-Wan with personal conflict.
Do you think Obi-Wan might be able to help us?
We don't need his help. Our baby is a blessing.
Here we get a behind the scenes of how Anakin truly feels about Obi-Wan, as part of it is his own pride and inability to seek out help, but another part can be seen as his mistrust in Obi-Wan, as he may feel that he's too close to the Council in this situation. Had Obi-Wan been more like Qui-Gon and separated himself from them and focused more on being Anakin's father figure, he might have been more willing to confide in him in times of conflict such as this one, even though this typically would be a blessing, as Anakin states.
What's wrong then?
The Senate is expected to vote more executive powers to the Chancellor today.
What's more is that Obi-Wan and Anakin have very different opinions on Palpatine, a man that Anakin deeply trusts. So in turn, this creates a foundation for direct tension between the master and apprentice.
Well, that can only mean less deliberating and more action. Is that bad? It'll make it easier for us to end this war.
Obi-Wan has a concern of the consequences of giving one man, especially a politician, more power, as it may help out in the short term, as Anakin suggests, but at the cost of the long term. Obi-Wan strongly believes in democracy, and for him to witness its slow downfall, he can't help but be concerned.
Be careful of your friend, Palpatine.
Be careful of what?
Obi-Wan's mistrust in Palpatine and politics is very clear here, as he doesn't even associate himself with being friends with Palpatine, and shifts that on Anakin, knowing that their relationship is stronger than that of most working colleagues.
You didn't inform the Council? That's unusual, isn't it?
All of this is unusual, and it's making me feel uneasy.
If it wasn't obvious before, Obi-Wan doesn't like this one bit, knowing that Palpatine is getting too comfortable with his seat of power politically, and with Anakin in particular, as he's pushing the envelope of what he could get away with. So Obi-Wan expresses his concern with Anakin so he can go into his meeting with Palpatine with caution. And upon returning from his meeting, Anakin brings news of Palpatine's request.
Disturbing is this move by Chancellor Palpatine.
And just like Obi-Wan, Yoda and the Council share similar concerns about Palpatine's true intentions.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
How can you do this? This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can you be on the council and not be a master?
Take a seat, young Skywalker.
In this moment, Obi-Wan shows clear and visible disappointment in his pupil, as he failed what could be considered a test of humility and gratitude. While the Council in some ways have disrespected him, he doesn't appreciate the honor that's been bestowed upon him that very few have ever accomplished. So it's up to Obi-Wan as his mentor to help him reframe his mindset into something more positive.
It's never been done in the history of the Jedi. It's insulting.
Oh, calm down, Anakin. You have been given a great honor. To be on the Council at your age, it's never happened before.
Where Anakin can be cynical and pessimistic at times, Obi-Wan encourages him to be optimistic and take things for what they are, as perception is everything, as his own master once stated to Anakin.
Your focus determines your reality.
And it's because of his growing relationship with Palpatine that Anakin is due for a much-needed reality check of his own.
The fact of the matter is you are too close to the Chancellor. The Council doesn't like it when he interferes in Jedi affairs.
Where Anakin is still trusting of Palpatine due to the emotional attachment that he's formed for him, Obi-Wan and the Council are beginning to distance themselves from him, as their own trust in him has been shaken.
I swear to you, I didn't ask to be put on the Council.
But it's what you wanted.
While Anakin's appointment may not have been his idea, Obi-Wan knows that his apprentice's pride and ego yearn to have the status of finally being a council member and a master, so he knows that what he's about to tell him will be rather difficult to hear.
Your friendship with Chancellor Palpatine seems to have paid off.
There's nothing to do with this.
The only reason the Council has approved your appointment is because the Chancellor trusts you.
Here we begin to see how the Council has left Obi-Wan in a particularly difficult situation, as he must be honest with his apprentice and tell him the honor bestowed upon him was not entirely because of his hard work, dedication, or merit, but because of who he knows, and how that would benefit the Council's agenda. And speaking of the Council's agenda, the tension and animosity that Anakin would have for the Council, and by direct association his master, would truly begin to form when he's given his secret assignment.
Anakin, I am on your side. I didn't want to put you in this situation.
What situation?
The Council wants you to report on all the Chancellor's dealings. They want to know what he's up to.
They want me to spy on the Chancellor?
Obi-Wan is very much uncomfortable telling this to Anakin, even trying to disassociate himself from the plan entirely and shift the blame on the Council. And unfortunately for Obi-Wan, the discomfort would only continue, as he must battle between being the Council's negotiator and Anakin's friend in this scenario. And even when Anakin directly questions the morality of the task, Obi-Wan must convince him that the ends justify the means.
That's treason.
We are at war, Anakin.
Their philosophies collide again, as Anakin blankets things as either inherently good or evil, or black and white, whereas Obi-Wan must live in the gray, understanding the importance of context, knowing sacrifices have to be made for the greater good, or as some might say, sometimes you have to crack a few eggs to make an omelet.
Why didn't the Council give me this assignment when we were in session?
This assignment is not to be on record.
It doesn't help either that the Council is operating in a shady manner, which for Anakin only builds further doubt in the Council and Obi-Wan.
The Chancellor is not a bad man, Obi-Wan. He befriended me. He's watched out for me ever since I arrived here.
That is why you must help us.
While Anakin sees the good that Palpatine has done for him, he naively fails to see things from an outside perspective.
The Senate demanded that he stay longer.
So Obi-Wan implies that Palpatine must have a separate agenda, and that Anakin would be the first to find out what his plans are, and he could give the Council peace of mind.
Our allegiance is to the Senate, not to its leader, who has managed to stay in office long after his term has expired. Use your feelings, Anakin. Something is out of place.
It's here that Anakin and Obi-Wan's differing core principles shine, as at the end of the day, Anakin chooses to put his faith in Palpatine, and Obi-Wan in democracy. In other words, Anakin chooses to believe in people, and Obi-Wan chooses to believe in ideals. There's nothing innately wrong with putting your trust in others, but people can have agendas, and agendas can change. Whereas if you follow your own ideals, that can be unwavering because it's a belief that's independent of what others may do or think.
You're asking me to do something against the Jedi Code, against the Republic, against a mentor and a friend. That's what's out of place here.
Obi-Wan suffers the consequences of being the middleman. Where Anakin viewed him as a friend, he now begins to question it, as he feels Obi-Wan is asking the worst of him, which is why Obi-Wan must remind him that he's simply the messenger.
Why are you asking this of me?
The Council is asking you.
However, because it's Anakin, he can't help but feel hurt by his brother and friend. This conversation represents the start of the end of their friendship, as Anakin begins to see Obi-Wan as a puppet of the Council. But Obi-Wan sacrifices his own pride and image in Anakin's eyes to try to do what's right for the galaxy and establish balance in the Force.
Anakin did not take to his new assignment with much enthusiasm.
That's one way of putting it.
Is he not to destroy the Sith and bring balance to the Force?
So the prophecy says.
A prophecy that misread could have been.
Like anyone else, Obi-Wan has his moments of doubt, as things don't seem like they'll pan out quite as simply as Qui-Gon once presented it to him. So he turns to Yoda and Mace for reassurance. In Mace, we see a blind faith to follow the prophecy as written in the same manner that he follows the Jedi Code. In Yoda, we see a willingness to admit the error in their ways and potentially learn from their mistakes. So while things may look grim, Obi-Wan casts his fear aside and chooses to take a page out of his apprentice's book and places his faith in others. He chooses to believe in Anakin.
He will not let me down. He never has.
I hope right you are.
And on the other side, in the same way that most of the council is losing faith in him, Anakin is losing faith in them, as they're not all that they're cracked up to be.
Sometimes I wonder what's happening to the Jedi Order. I think this war is destroying the principles of the Republic.
What's worse, when the council is given an opportunity to show Anakin a semblance of trust, they instead place it in his master.
The Chancellor has requested that I lead the campaign.
The council will make up its own mind who is to go, not the Chancellor.
The council then placing Obi-Wan in a tough position again with his apprentice, as they deny Anakin not only the mission he desires, but the one he believes he deserves.
A master is needed. Master Kenobi should go.
So by default, Obi-Wan is seen as a target of potential jealousy for Anakin, as he wishes to lead the campaign that would end the Clone Wars. Not only does Obi-Wan's mission to Utapau leave Anakin with a bit of a bitter taste in his mouth, but it also physically separates Obi-Wan from his apprentice during a complex time, as Anakin would be all the more alone, without a symbolic conscience at his side to make decisions during the events that would lead into Order 66.
You're gonna need me on this one, Master.
Oh, I agree. However, it may turn out just to be a wild panther chase.
Obi-Wan understands that Anakin is a great asset and is willing to give him his respect as a warrior. He also knows that this mission had significant meaning to Anakin, so he wisely downplays its importance to help ease his frustrations.
I've disappointed you. I haven't been very appreciative of your training. I've been arrogant, and I apologize. I've just been so frustrated with the Council.
Here, Obi-Wan sees that Anakin is willing to open up and show vulnerability, so Obi-Wan does the same and praises the growth that he's made as a Jedi and a person, emphasizing the idea that the man that he's become is more important than any rank the Jedi could ever give him.
You are strong and wise, Anakin, and I am very proud of you. And you have become a far greater Jedi than I could ever hope to be. But be patient, Anakin. It will not be long before the Council makes you a Jedi Master.
In hindsight, this goodbye is the final time that the two characters would ever truly speak to each other as brothers.
Obi-Wan, may the Force be with you.
Goodbye, old friend. May the Force be with you.
And the younger brother must take his master's teachings and use them to aid himself, as he will be given an important choice with destiny. This being one of the toughest parts about being a master, as you can train someone their whole life and guide them along the right path, but in the end they must make the decisions for themselves, as the student's training is only truly complete once they've learned to live beyond the master. And so, Obi-Wan then travels to Utapau, and upon his arrival, he displays why he got the nickname the Negotiator.
There's no war here unless you brought it with you.
With your kind permission, I should like some fuel, and to use your city as a base as I search nearby systems for General Grievous.
Here we see Obi-Wan's top-tier communication skills at work, as he can very easily talk to anyone and be immediately treated as an ally.
Yes, here. We are being held hostage. They are watching us.
I understand.
Obi-Wan shows the ability to keep a level head and come up with a plan of action without alerting the droids, giving him the element of surprise.
10th level. Thousands of battle droids.
Tell your people to take shelter. If you have warriors, now is the time.
Although, there's definitely room for improvement, as he does fail to communicate all the details to his new friends.
Is he bringing additional warriors? He didn't say.
Obi-Wan takes the information of Grievous's location and tracks him down, only to drop in on their fun, but never forgetting his manners.
Hello there.
General Kenobi, you are a bold one.
While this is a bold move by the Jedi Master, it pays off, but only because Obi-Wan understands his enemy. He knows that while Grievous is more than capable of executing him with an entire army at his disposal, Obi-Wan knows that Grievous would never pull the trigger on this, as he has too much pride to allow them to take away his satisfaction in defeating Obi-Wan himself. Grievous isn't really much of a team player, as he always prefers to be the reason for the team's success, whereas Obi-Wan has no desire for glory and is willing to cast aside his ego and do what is necessary for his team to succeed, which is why he's more than willing to create this distraction to buy the clones enough time to arrive. So instead of guaranteeing that Obi-Wan is eliminated, Grievous decides to play with his food and sends in a few Magna Guards. Obi-Wan's quick disposal of them reminds us that he's all about using minimum effort to get maximum results, as he uses the environment around him to his advantage to gain the upper hand when he's outnumbered.
I will deal with this Jedi slime myself.
Your move.
Obi-Wan is clearly not about showing off, but in comparison, Grievous relishes in the moment to show off in front of others and boasts about his legendary skills.
You fool! I've been trained in your Jedi arts by Count Dooku.
As the two begin to duel, we see the great disparity between their fighting styles, as Grievous is flashy, constantly utilizing his speed and strength without changing his strategy or really thinking things through, where Obi-Wan always thinks defensively and tries to find holes in his opponent's game plan. In this case, he focuses on eliminating as many variables as possible and ridding Grievous of his unique strength as a fighter, that being his ability to wield twice the amount of weapons than the average humanoid could.
Army or not, you must realize you are doomed.
Oh, I don't think so.
Grievous, of course, tries to use intimidation tactics to scare his opponent, although Obi-Wan's not the type to be easily scared. Unlike Grievous, the Force is Obi-Wan's ally, as he uses it to his advantage, disarming Grievous and sending him on the run. Although this time, Obi-Wan doesn't let escape become an option, so he chases Grievous down, losing his lightsaber in the process. Towards the end of the fight, Obi-Wan showcases that he's willing to scrap with anyone to get the job done. Even when he's physically outmatched, he knows that Grievous, like anyone, has a weakness, so he targets his heart by opening up his chest plate. Similar to the battle of David versus Goliath, Obi-Wan finds his stone, or in this case, blaster, and uses it against him to get the win not by means of brawn, but brain.
So uncivilized.
While it may feel barbaric to use a blaster, as he would prefer,
The weapon of a Jedi Knight, not as clumsy or random as a blaster. An elegant weapon for a more civilized age.
that won't stop Obi-Wan from doing what must be done. It's also fitting that Obi-Wan defeats Grievous to end the war, because Obi-Wan has always been the catalyst to look for a peaceful alternative. Those actions here should in theory bring peace to the galaxy, as Grievous represented the severe and serious savagery of war, and the Negotiator represented the idea of using communication to solve conflict rather than violence. With the death of Grievous, one would have imagined that the violence would have stopped, but unfortunately it's only the beginning as Order 66 is initiated. Obi-Wan is betrayed by not only the Republic that he fought for,
execute Order 66,
but by the soldiers he fought alongside and called friends.
Come on, when have I ever let you down?
Did you find Kenobi? Sir, no one could have survived that fall.
But most painfully, he's betrayed by his best friend and the brother that he raised.
Every single Jedi, including your friend, Obi-Wan Kenobi, is now an enemy of the Republic.
I understand, Master.
So Obi-Wan, along with the Jedi Order as a whole, must suffer the consequences of Anakin's betrayal, as the Jedi are purged throughout the galaxy. Obi-Wan's survival is a testament to his resilience, and thematically, it's no coincidence that he and Yoda are of the few survivors, as while they may have followed the code, they were not entirely blinded by it, as they've shown that they're willing to learn from their mistakes, as they lack the extreme arrogance that other Jedi possess, as we see in Mace and Anakin. Obi-Wan is then left to escape Utapau on Grievous' ship. Ironic, as typically Grievous would have used this vessel as a means to leave his soldiers behind and live to fight another day. And in this case, Obi-Wan does the same, but the difference here is that it's his soldiers that abandoned him.
Senator Organa, my clone troops turned on me. I need help.
We have just rescued Master Yoda. It appears this ambush has happened everywhere.
While Obi-Wan typically keeps politicians at an arm's distance, in this desperate time, Obi-Wan ironically turns to a politician for help, although it's one that he can trust in Bail Organa. Obi-Wan understands the importance of having multiple friends you can rely on during a difficult time, whereas Anakin seems to be shortening his circle.
My loyalties lie with the Chancellor, and with the Senate, and with you.
What about Obi-Wan?
I don't know. Many Jedi have been killed. We can only hope that he's remained loyal to the Chancellor.
Once Obi-Wan regroups with Bail and Yoda, he begins to truly see the gravity of the situation that they're in.
Received a coded retreat message we have.
It requests all Jedi to return to the temple.
Well, then we must go back.
Even with as dangerous of a plan as this, Obi-Wan is more than willing to put his own life on the line for the sake of others. Through and through, Obi-Wan will always do what he believes is right, even if it means he may not make it out alive himself.
Suggest dismantling the coded signal, do you?
Yes, Master. There is too much at stake.
I agree, and a little more knowledge might light our way.
Obi-Wan also understands that while the Purge is still fresh, this may be the best time to strike back if the Jedi are to have a fighting chance. And with this suggestion, this leads Yoda to consider the other benefits to his plan, such as obtaining knowledge, which as we know, may give them the wisdom they need going forward. Or as one might say, knowledge is power. Once they arrive at the Jedi Temple, Obi-Wan and Yoda once again display why they were one of the few Jedi to survive Order 66, as they show their mastery of the Force and legendary skills with the lightsaber, as they take on their once allies in the clones. Although once they make it through the troops, they're left with having to painfully witness the aftermath of what has become of their home, as thousands of Jedi lie dead, with no survivors to be found. What's worse is what they realize when they mourn their fallen brethren.
Not even the younglings survived.
Killed not by clones. This Padawan, by a lightsaber he was.
Who could have done this?
The betrayal is then furthered as they were not only killed by their allies in the clones, but likely one of their own. What's painful here is that as the audience, we already know that Anakin committed these atrocities, but because Obi-Wan is not informed yet, we see his raw reaction, as he never assumes who it could be, because while others doubted Anakin, he truly always believed in him, and would never think that someone who might as well have been his own blood would do something so evil. This scene, followed by Anakin committing more murders with the defenseless separatists, makes it all the more tragic, as Obi-Wan still clings on to hope, and Anakin has delved deeper into despair, as we see the pain and agony on his face as he completes his mission.
I have recalibrated the code, warning all surviving Jedi to stay away.
Obi-Wan can rest a little easier, as they have succeeded in their main mission. However, the true test will be what he does with the information he's about to receive.
Wait, Master. There is something I must know.
If into the security recordings you go, only pain will you find.
I must know the truth, Master.
Yoda voices what Obi-Wan already knows. Obi-Wan knows that going into it, he will only be saddened by what he sees, but he casts his feelings aside and searches for the truth above all else. As mentioned before, knowledge is their most powerful weapon, and they have some catching up to do if they're to have a fighting chance against the Sith.
It can't be. It can't be.
Have done well, my new apprentice. Now, Lord Vader, go and bring peace to the Empire.
I can't watch anymore.
In this moment, Obi-Wan is completely torn and betrayed. As we witness the moment, he is faced with the truth that the boy he raised is responsible for all this. And like any concerned family member, he can only take so much before it makes him sick. This also shows that while the Jedi are told not to have attachments, this can truly feel like an impossible task, as their compassion for others makes them have a necessity to care about each other on a personal level.
Destroy the Sith. We must.
Yoda's reaction juxtaposes Obi-Wan's, as Yoda has already accepted that their sworn enemy in Anakin must be eliminated. But Obi-Wan is incapable of viewing his brother as a villain, which makes him incapable of killing him.
Send me to kill the Emperor. I will not kill Anakin.
To fight this Lord Sidious, strong enough, you are not.
He is like my brother. I cannot do it.
In other words, Obi-Wan would rather die than kill Anakin, because both characters know that Obi-Wan doesn't stand a chance of surviving against the Emperor. So Yoda here must save Obi-Wan from himself, as Obi-Wan has a better shot against his former apprentice, not only because of his skill, but because he knows him better than anyone. It's because of this Obi-Wan's fear is not losing to Anakin, but defeating him.
Twisted by the dark side, young Skywalker has become. The boy you trained, gone he is, consumed by Darth Vader.
Just like the security recordings, Yoda must give Obi-Wan a reality check, because like anyone else, Obi-Wan will make an excuse not to have to face the truth if it's something they don't want to accept. This line also encapsulates the failure that Obi-Wan feels in his pupil, so much to the point that he could only cope with it in a similar way that Yoda frames it here, by viewing Anakin and Vader as two separate entities, something he would hold on to for life.
He betrayed and murdered your father.
I do not know where the Emperor has sent him. I don't know where to look.
Use your feelings, Obi-Wan, and find him you will.
Ironically, Obi-Wan's feelings is not only the very thing that's prevented him from wanting to face Anakin, but it's also the very thing that allows him to track him down, as he knows that Padme is the key to finding his answers, as she's the only other person who rivals his own care for Anakin.
Do you know where he is now?
No.
Padme, I need your help. He's in grave danger.
From the Sith?
From himself.
Obi-Wan is spot on here, as Anakin's biggest concern is the threat that he can cause to himself, because his mind has become so consumed with fear that he's truly forgotten the difference between right and wrong, which means he's on the path to doing something that he will always regret. Obi-Wan also rightfully assumes that Padme knows more than she's letting on, so he knows he needs to press her for more information, as she's the best chance at saving Anakin from himself.
I have seen a security hologram of him killing younglings.
Not Anakin. He couldn't.
Padme's reaction is probably what Obi-Wan's would be if he had no evidence as well, as the two want to see the good in Anakin more than anyone. So telling Padme the truth only brings pain to Obi-Wan, as knowing the truth is one thing, but saying it out loud makes it all the more real in his own mind.
He was deceived by a lie. We all were. Palpatine is the Sith Lord we've been looking for. After the death of Count Dooku, Anakin became his new apprentice.
I don't believe you.
Here, Obi-Wan just lays out the facts to Padme, and it almost feels like he's doing so, not only to convince Padme, but himself as well. It's the only way he can come closer to making sense of the situation, even as painful as it may be.
Padme, I must find him.
You're going to kill him, aren't you?
He has become a very great threat.
It pains Obi-Wan so much that he can't directly admit to Padme's accusation, avoiding the question and trying to justify his actions by mentioning how much of a threat he's become. He knows deep down that killing him is not the answer, but he feels compelled to do so for the sake of the galaxy. This here shows the great dilemma of the human heart in conflict with itself. Obi-Wan must choose between honoring the Republic, the Jedi Order, and the galaxy as a whole, protecting them at all costs, or to sacrifice that honor and remain loyal to his brother in Anakin, and maintain hope in him. Padme's take represents the side that chooses hope and peace over violence, whereas Yoda's represents the idea that the ends justify the means. In the end, it's for Obi-Wan to decide, and he alone is burdened with the blessing and curse of choice. He must look at Anakin as the boy he once knew, or as the evil Darth Vader he's become.
Anakin is the father, isn't he? I'm so sorry.
Here he confronts Padme about something he's always known, showing not only his perceptive nature, but it's an indicator of how much he cares for both Anakin and Padme, as he's known all along, but made the choice not to say anything so they could have a chance at happiness. Obi-Wan knows that Padme would never knowingly betray Anakin, as he's the father of her children and the love of her life, so he sneaks onto her ship without her knowledge in the hopes that he will be able to confront his apprentice once and for all. Obi-Wan finds himself on Mustafar, a volcanic planet that represents hell itself and symbolizes the manifestation of the turmoil in Anakin's heart. Upon arriving, Padme is quick to greet her husband and attempts to bring him back to the light. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan waits in the hopes that she proves to be successful.
Obi-Wan is trying to turn you against me.
He cares about us.
Us?
He knows. He wants to help you.
While Padme may know that Obi-Wan has Anakin's best interest at heart, unfortunately, Anakin does not share this sentiment with her. And through their conversation, Padme begins to recognize that Anakin's so far gone that he's forgotten who his friends are, and is willing to push away anyone that has a chance of standing in his way, even his own brother.
Obi-Wan was right. You've changed.
I don't want to hear any more about Obi-Wan. The Jedi turned against me. Don't you turn against me?
Obi-Wan's relationship with Anakin has been shattered. Where Anakin once viewed him as a friend, he's now an enemy in his eyes. This being one of the many reasons Padme begins to break down, as she knows that Anakin's care for Obi-Wan is unmatched. And when that's been broken, there's very little hope for the Chosen One to be able to see the light. And now that he's given Padme a chance to bring Anakin back, Obi-Wan decides that it's time for him to step in to settle things.
Liar!
No!
You're with him! You brought him here to kill me!
No!
Let her go, Anakin! Let her go!
Obi-Wan has now not only witnessed Anakin take the lives of innocent children, but also turn against the very person he loves the most in the galaxy. So if he's willing to do that to her, then in his mind, there really is no hope for him.
You turned her against me!
You have done that yourself!
Obi-Wan reminds Anakin that he has all the power in this scenario. Rather than blaming others for the outcome, he must look within if he wants to see change. There's nothing Obi-Wan can do to make Padme truly change her opinion of Anakin. It's only Anakin that can do that, as it's his own actions that speak the loudest when it comes to others determining his character.
You will not take her from me! Your anger and your lust for power have already done that. You have allowed this Dark Lord to twist your mind until now Till now you have become the very thing you swore to destroy.
Obi-Wan eloquently states the flaws in Anakin's decisions, as he's been manipulated into seeking happiness in a place that would never give it to him. He's seen Anakin grow from an altruistic boy that wanted to help others, to a man who's become a tyrant, who lusts and craves power above the people that he cares about.
I have brought peace, freedom, justice, and security to my new empire.
Your new empire? Anakin, my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy!
Obi-Wan reminds Anakin here that it's not about the side itself that they once fought on, but what it stood for, as the philosophy behind democracy is that everyone has a voice and everyone's opinion matters, that through communication we can reach a common goal, a government ruled by the people. But Anakin has embraced the ideals of a dictatorship, where one rules all and makes decisions based on what they deem is best for others, emphasizing that Anakin has become what he hates, as he once grew up a slave and now he's on the other side, treating the galaxy's citizens as slaves of his own.
If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes. I will do what I must.
You will try.
Anakin has become close-minded and has made an enemy out of everyone. Obi-Wan was still willing to compromise with Anakin, but he's failed to show him that he could be reasoned with. As an agent of evil, Anakin vows to destroy those that stand in his way. So spoken like a true guardian of peace, Obi-Wan promises to do only what is necessary of him and defend what he stands for. What would then ensue is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. And just like that, the Battle of the Heroes begins, a fitting name as they were once both legendary heroes of the Clone Wars, serving the Republic and the Jedi Order alike. But as the opening crawl suggested, they can be considered the heroes of both sides, with evil being everywhere. It's again a great representation of the dichotomy of the Jedi and the Sith, as Anakin is the full aggressor, with Obi-Wan on his back foot the entire time. Anakin constantly goes for the kill, where Obi-Wan looks to tire his opponent and find an opening. A visual representation of using the Force for power and attack versus knowledge and defense. As mentioned earlier, Mustafar can be considered hell itself, and a metaphor for Anakin's inner conflict. So the fact that the legendary duel between the brothers takes place here is important. As for Anakin, just like the volcanic planet, when one has given themselves to the dark side, they can become unstable and ready to erupt at any moment, with the result only leading to physical, mental, and emotional destruction. For Obi-Wan, the planet emphasizes the great lengths he's willing to go to help his former apprentice, as he's almost quite literally willing to go to hell and back in the hopes of saving his brother and protecting the galaxy. And as the two fight each other, little by little, the facility they're in is destroyed, representative of the consequences of choosing violence over finding peace. Without realizing it, whether it's the Republic, the Jedi Order, or the once good friendship that the two had, everyone suffers from the fighting. Also to note, the difference in color of their clothes represents their stance on the classic tale of good versus evil, as Obi-Wan has always sported a lighter colored tunic, symbolizing his unwavering affiliation to the light side of the Force, and the consistency of his clothes emphasizing his incorruptibility. For Anakin, we see how his clothes have gotten progressively darker throughout the films, representing his descent into darkness.
I have failed you, Anakin. I have failed you.
This at its core is one of the many things that makes Obi-Wan truly special. The ability to never shift the blame on others and always look inwards, analyzing his own mistakes so he can have a chance at learning from them and continue to evolve and grow as a person. Comparatively, part of the reason Anakin stagnates is due to his inability to do the same, always blaming his master for his problems.
Because of Obi-Wan.
You thunder against me! You will not take it from me!
While it is Anakin's direct actions that have caused the fall of the Jedi Order, Obi-Wan understands that like everything else in life, you can't do it by yourself. So he accepts the responsibility of Anakin committing those sins because he failed him as a teacher.
I should have known the Jedi were plotting to take over. Anakin, Chancellor Palpatine is evil! From my point of view, the Jedi are evil. Well, then you are lost!
Ironically, Obi-Wan shows here one of the ways he's failed Anakin as a teacher, as he fails to communicate with him properly, only looking at the situation from his perspective, never stopping to think how Anakin came to his own conclusion. This concept of perspective is what Palpatine understood and exploited. As he stated earlier,
good is a point of view, Anakin.
So when Anakin doesn't listen, Obi-Wan just gets more frustrated rather than explaining or even hearing him out.
This is the end for you, my master.
The two know that the fight will only last so long, and Anakin will not be reasoned with. So Obi-Wan does what he can to put him in a no-win scenario by taking the high ground and challenging his ego.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!
You underestimate my power!
Don't try it!
It's a bit of reverse psychology, but it effectively works. Also, the idea of having the high ground is not only a physical truth used to exploit his hubris and arrogance, something he's seen in Anakin before, and as well his duel with Maul, overall a common trait among the Sith in general, but it also is a metaphor for Obi-Wan having the moral high ground, as Obi-Wan feels his actions are justified, as he fights for others and Anakin fights for himself, and the power he can obtain and how it benefits him, to the point that he's still concerned with trying to prove his strength as a warrior. And in one swift stroke, Obi-Wan wins the duel, dismembering Anakin and bringing him closer to the very thing he would mention in the original trilogy.
He's more machine now than man, twisted and evil.
It's fitting for Anakin to lose his limbs, as it's symbolic of him losing a piece of his humanity, a scar he would live with for the rest of his life, and the price he would pay for betraying all that he cared about. It's especially sad for Obi-Wan, his best friend, as he essentially closes the casket on Anakin, as he would live the rest of his life in the tomb we would know as the iconic suit.
You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them! Bring balance to the Force! Not leave it in darkness! I hate you! You were my brother, Anakin! I loved you!
In other words, Obi-Wan is simply saying, I'm disappointed in you. Obi-Wan was one of the few people that always truly believed in Anakin, and while in Anakin's eyes he feels resentment towards his former master, as he felt he held him back, Obi-Wan was only so hard on him because he believed in him so firmly. He witnessed the good boy that was once Anakin transform into something evil, and as Anakin yells with rage about his hatred, Obi-Wan can only respond with love. And more painfully, he expresses it in the past tense. There was a time he would have done anything to save Anakin, but Anakin, the very symbol of hope for the Jedi as the prophesied chosen one, causes Obi-Wan's hope to die with him. This scene even mirrors one at the beginning of the film, where Anakin saves Obi-Wan without question, but this time, Obi-Wan doesn't return the favor. As even Anakin said,
But you owe me one, and not for saving your skin for the 10th time.
So Obi-Wan doesn't save him, not out of spite, but he leaves him to die because he doesn't want to save Vader. He would rather that the memory of Anakin remain. Essentially, if he died now, he could still die the hero and the friend that he admired. Depending on how you look at it, it could be cruel, but Obi-Wan would rather that not only his memory of him be intact, but also that Anakin would no longer be in pain. He attempts to do Anakin one last favor, to rid him of his pain forever, so that the boy who lived in fear may finally rest in peace. As Anakin burns with rage, so does he physically. As he's engulfed and consumed in the flames, he now becomes as unrecognizable physically as he was mentally to his friends. We as the audience can now see Vader through Obi-Wan's eyes, a monster. And while this happens, Obi-Wan forces himself to see what Anakin has become, to remind himself of the reality of his failure, so he could remember this image and do everything in his power to ensure that it never happens again. In the same way Obi-Wan mentions,
This weapon is your life.
Him taking Anakin's weapon is symbolic of that very thing. He left believing that he killed Anakin Skywalker, but he would not let the good memory of him die, so he took his weapon so that his memory would live on, to then one day use it to inspire his son in Luke Skywalker.
Obi-Wan, is Anakin alright?
Knowing that Padme may be on the brink of death, Obi-Wan remains silent, as he doesn't want to say what's transpired, because Obi-Wan is still burdened with the question, did I do the right thing? The idea of keeping Anakin's spirit alive is furthered through Obi-Wan attempting to save Padme's life, as she represents the good in Anakin, and their children, a symbol of their love and compassion. So it's fitting that Obi-Wan does what he can to preserve that. This then mirrored by Palpatine trying to preserve the monster he's created. Both Anakin's masters of good and evil are still fighting to guide the chosen one on their desired path. So it's fitting that Palpatine creates a suit to trap and imprison Anakin and control him. And Obi-Wan does what he can so Luke and Leia can be born and live a free life, one that Anakin never got to live.
Obi-Wan, there's good in him. I know there's still.
Obi-Wan witnesses Padme's body die before her spirit ever did. It's that belief and resilience that she possesses that would live on in Luke and Leia. Unfortunately for Obi-Wan, as hopeful as he is and wants to believe that the good in Anakin still exists, he truly believes that there's no hope for his former apprentice. This being one of the very tragedies of losing his best friend, as he lost a piece of himself in the process, as Anakin always inspired Obi-Wan with hope of a brighter future. And on the topic of a brighter future, a plan for the children of Anakin Skywalker must be made.
Hidden, safe, the children must be kept.
We must take them somewhere where the Sith will not sense their presence.
Here, the 3 remaining heroes vow to protect the symbols of hope and allow them to live as the Force wills it, in a sense hitting the reset button on what the Jedi Order became and living life in its true philosophy, as Qui-Gon believed, through the will of the Force.
And what of the boy?
To Tatooine. To his family send him.
I will take the child and watch over him.
It's fitting that Obi-Wan volunteers to look after Luke, as he sees this as an opportunity to mend his mistakes, to learn from his faults with Anakin, and give Luke a better future.
In your solitude on Tatooine, training I have for you.
Training?
An old friend has learned the path to immortality.
Qui-Gon?
How to commune with him, I will teach you.
As per his character, Obi-Wan is always in a constant state of learning, a great example of always choosing to improve one's self. Also, the fact that it's through Qui-Gon is fitting, as he was his old master, and he can still learn a few valuable lessons from him. It's also a reminder of the impact those that we care about can have on us. The fact that Qui-Gon learned immortality is representative of that, similar to loved ones that pass away in our own life, as we can still learn from them as long as they live in our minds. So it's fitting that Obi-Wan be tasked with this, as he has much to learn if he's to have the kind of impact on others as Qui-Gon once did for him. In the closing shots of the film, Obi-Wan hands off Luke to his aunt and uncle, symbolic of placing his trust in the Force and allowing it to dictate their destiny. And while he may have lost his faith in Anakin, he still believes that there's hope in the universe. And while things may look grim, he will never stop doing what he feels is right. And similar to Batman, he may be the hero the galaxy deserves, but not the one it needs right now. So he'll wait for the right moment. And in the meantime, he'll be a silent guardian and a watchful protector to Luke. A Jedi Knight, choosing to be a shining light similar to the binary sunset as the day sets on the Republic, only for night to come. But the light will return, as the failed teacher may have fallen for now, but he'll learn to pick himself up again. At the start of A New Hope, we see the galaxy in a state of civil war, and our hero in Obi-Wan is now playing the role of the old hermit who watches over and protects the young Luke Skywalker. In the 19 years since Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan has not only grown older, but wiser as well. While he may not be the warrior he once was in the Clone Wars, he still maintains his affinity for peace as a person that can be relied on to influence the future and fight the good fight.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
One of, if not the most iconic lines in Star Wars, one that directly builds up the legend of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Even without prior knowledge of who Obi-Wan is, audiences are immediately intrigued, as we can recognize Obi-Wan as not only a man of importance, but one that is a symbol for hope to the galaxy during a dark time. Here we get a glimpse at the name that Obi-Wan has made for himself on Tatooine, and similar to the desert planet itself, how secluded he has become, not mentioning his past to others and keeping to himself as much as possible, emphasizing the idea that he's kept to his ideals, following the will of the Force, and allowing Luke to choose his own destiny.
He says that he is the property of Obi-Wan Kenobi, a resident of these parts, and it's a private message for him. Quite frankly, sir, I don't know what he's talking about.
The loyalty that R2 shows not only to Leia and the Rebellion, but to Obi-Wan, is a sign of the type of person Obi-Wan is, someone that you could trust your life with, to the point that R2 would risk his own life on the belief that he could deliver this message to him. It's representative of what being a symbol of hope can do for others, as it can make the most unlikely hero rise to the occasion.
I think he's searching for his former master, but I've never seen such devotion in a droid before.
And what furthers the intrigue in Luke and the audience as to who Obi-Wan is can be found in Owen and Beru's reaction to hearing the name for the first time in many years.
He says he belongs to someone called Obi-Wan Kenobi. I thought he might have meant old Ben. Do you know what he's talking about? I wonder if he's related to Ben.
That wizard's just a crazy old man. Tomorrow I want you to take that R2 unit to Anchorhead and have its memory erased. That'll be the end of it. It belongs to us now.
The two clearly know who he is and are holding back information. Owen in particular wants to avoid the topic and rid themselves of any evidence of his existence, only leaving Luke with more questions than answers.
But what if this Obi-Wan comes looking for him?
He won't. I don't think he exists anymore. He died about the same time as your father.
He knew my father?
I told you to forget it.
This only makes Luke want to find out about him even more, as now he has a personal stake in his inevitable encounter with Obi-Wan, as he now knows that Obi-Wan may be able to provide him with the answers he's been desperately seeking his whole life about who his family really was, at least beyond what his aunt and uncle told him. And sooner than he would expect, his opportunity would arrive as Obi-Wan and Luke's paths would cross in the Judland Wastes, as Luke would search to rescue R2. And when Luke would find himself in some trouble, Obi-Wan would be there to protect him. Where Luke wanted to fight the Tusken Raiders, Obi-Wan found a solution that didn't involve violence. Not only is this consistent with Obi-Wan's philosophy, but it's a display of how with age comes wisdom.
Hello there.
Even after all these years, he's still got it.
Come here, my little friend. Don't be afraid. Oh, don't worry, he'll be all right.
Typically, Obi-Wan is not one to show affection to droids, but here we see that over time he's become more compassionate towards them, as he treats R2 as any other person, even as an old friend. A trait that not most characters in Star Wars have, as more often than not, they quickly dismiss or discriminate against them. Overall, Obi-Wan is always quick to show his friendly side, while encouraging others to be brave.
Rest easy, son. You've had a busy day. You're fortunate to be all in one piece. The Judland Wastes are not to be traveled lightly.
Already we see Obi-Wan begin to take on the fatherly role for Luke, as he gives him advice to be careful for his own well-being, even helping Luke to pick himself up when he's fallen.
He claims to be the property of an Obi-Wan Kenobi. Is he a relative of yours? Do you know who he's talking about?
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan.
As Obi-Wan hears his true name for the first time in years, we see the memories of who he once was flood back in him all at once. It's a reminder of the value that our name has, as it's as much a part of us as anything else. So when he hears it, he feels almost reconnected with himself, just as we're reconnected with him.
I think my uncle knows him. He said he was dead.
Oh, he's not dead. Not yet.
Well, you know him.
Well, of course I know him. He's me.
Even after all these years, Obi-Wan's sense of humor never faded. Even adding in the "not yet" is a playful way of showing that Obi-Wan has come to accept that there will come a point when his time is up. One of the common differences between a younger and an older man is their perception on life, as we see a young Luke who's full of aspirations and may feel immortal. Old Ben understands that just as every story has a beginning, it has an end.
I haven't gone by the name of Obi-Wan since before you were born.
Well then, the droid does belong to you.
Don't seem to remember ever owning a droid.
Alright, Obi-Wan, why are you gonna do R2 dirty like that? You could at least say you know him. While he does know R2, we see another example of how precise Obi-Wan is with his words, never denying knowing the astromech, just as he never denied being Obi-Wan. This would be a theme as he would tell the story of Anakin Skywalker from his own point of view.
No, my father didn't fight in the wars. He was a navigator on a spice freighter.
That's what your uncle told you. He didn't hold with your father's ideals, thought he should have stayed here and not gotten involved.
Just like the uneventful life of a farmer that Luke lives, the story he's told about his father matches it, where Obi-Wan now presents Luke with a more exciting story of Anakin, one as a legendary hero of the Clone Wars.
You fought in the Clone Wars?
Yes. I was once a Jedi Knight, the same as your father.
This revealing to Luke that Obi-Wan is far more interesting than the old hermit he believed him to be. Also to note, Obi-Wan uses the past tense, as he feels like he's been retired from the job. But that doesn't mean he's lost any of his ideals or philosophy as a Jedi, as he would be ready to pass them down to Luke and have the Jedi live on through him.
I wish I'd known him.
He was the best star pilot in the galaxy, and a cunning warrior. I understand you've become quite a good pilot yourself, and he was a good friend.
Obi-Wan's memory of Anakin remains untarnished, as he disassociates him from Darth Vader entirely. We can see that he truly views the two as two different beings. Whether he wants to admit it or not, he wants to believe that the man in the suit may still be there. Although, because Obi-Wan is a realist, his look of fondness in his once best friend fades away, as the reality sets in of what he became and his failure along with it.
Your father wanted you to have this when you were old enough, but your uncle wouldn't allow it. He feared you might follow old Obi-Wan on some damn fool idealistic crusade like your father did.
While Anakin may not have said this exactly during the lightsaber transaction, the sentiment is still there, as it's something that Obi-Wan truly believes that Anakin would have wanted, as the lightsaber is a beacon of hope, as Anakin once was, or as Obi-Wan would say,
for a more civilized age.
Obi-Wan's description of the lightsaber fills Luke with wonder as he gives the weapon life through his description, making the Jedi truly feel like knights of the medieval times. The passing of the weapon and almost lineage or worthiness attached to it is reminiscent of fantasy tales of the era, such as King Arthur and the Weapon of Excalibur. This furthers the idea of Obi-Wan as not only a father figure of sorts, passing down a family heirloom to Luke, but also akin to Merlin as a wizard or mentor that guides the young hero on his journey. This scene in general begins to show Obi-Wan lead Luke from the known and ordinary world to crossing the threshold into the unknown.
For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic. Before the Dark Times. Before the Empire.
Obi-Wan, like many other elderly people, provide us with a window into the past. Through them, we see the world's events through their point of view, and it makes the events all the more real. Not something that you can gather from a history book per se, as we see the pain in Obi-Wan of reminiscing the change between how society was during the Republic era, only to diminish during the age of the Empire.
How did my father die?
A young Jedi named Darth Vader, who was a pupil of mine until he turned to evil, helped the Empire hunt down and destroy the Jedi Knights. He betrayed and murdered your father. Now the Jedi are all but extinct. Vader was seduced by the dark side of the Force.
This retelling of history's events reminds us that perspective is everything. As Obi-Wan would say,
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
This is important not only because Obi-Wan likely doesn't want to burden Luke with the details of what happened 19 years prior, but more so this is how Obi-Wan can essentially sleep at night, as he finds it difficult to come to terms with Anakin's actions that led to his betrayal, so it's easier to pin them on the other side, on Vader. This also introduces to Luke the idea that the Jedi are not perfect. They're people, just like anyone else, with desires and flaws. This greatly juxtaposing the storybook description of being the guardians of peace and justice. Because Obi-Wan is the only Jedi that Luke and the audience are aware of at the time, he becomes our representative for what an ideal Jedi should strive to be like, and comparatively, Vader is what we should avoid, as he's the result of when those ideals are corrupted.
The Force?
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together.
This is the audience's introduction to the great mystery that is the Force, a great description given by Obi-Wan as the Force is everything and is essential to life itself. This reminding us that it's not the Jedi or Sith who innately have the power, but are given it by the universe, similar to any other gifts or abilities that one may have. But just like all of those, it's up to us to do something with it. This is the difference between the Jedi and Sith, as the Jedi understand that this power comes from the universe, and it's their job to use what they're given for good, for the benefit of others. But the Sith think inward, always craving more power than they can handle.
I have placed information vital to the survival of the rebellion into the memory systems of this R2 unit. This is our most desperate hour. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
The importance of Obi-Wan couldn't be any more clear in this moment, as the fate of the rebellion rests in his hands, harkening back to the idea that he, Bail, and Yoda would wait until the time was right. Obi-Wan understands that now is the moment, as the child Bail swore to protect calls for him, so he turns to Luke for help.
You must learn the ways of the Force, if you're to come with me to Alderaan.
Obi-Wan calls on to Luke to aid him in his journey, as he understands that now is the time to teach him about the Force and to pass on what he's learned. Not only is this a chance for him to keep the Jedi alive, but the spirit of Anakin Skywalker, as Obi-Wan can now begin to take the steps to being the mentor that he couldn't be with Anakin, something that would only really come with age and wisdom.
Alderaan? I'm not going to Alderaan. I've got to get home. It's late. I'm in for it as it is.
I need your help, Luke. She needs your help. I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
Obi-Wan chooses to come from a place of vulnerability, rather than only selfishly wanting to teach him about the Force for his own pride or for a prophecy, or even just keep a promise to his former master. He wants to because it's the right thing to do, to help others, and he realizes that he must come from that angle if Luke is to truly be the hero of the rebellion.
I can't get involved. I've got work to do. It's not that I like the Empire. I hate it, but there's nothing I can do about it right now. It's such a long way from here.
That's your uncle talking.
Obi-Wan calls it as he sees it. Everything in Luke's attitude expresses that he wants to go, but he's forcing himself to live the life his uncle wants him to. Ironically, very similar to Anakin, as he was forced to live the life that others chose for him as well, early on as a slave, and then as a Padawan growing up, always following the Council's rules, rather than choosing his own path. Obi-Wan reminds him that his rationale is really just an excuse, because it doesn't come from him internally, rather externally.
Learn about the Force, Luke.
Look, I can take you as far as Anchorhead. You can get a transport there to Mos Eisley or wherever you're going.
You must do what you feel is right, of course.
While Luke refuses the call, Obi-Wan leaves him with food for thought, that in the end, the decision is his. Only Luke can choose his destiny, and as a hero who seeks out adventure and purpose, these words would stay with him as doing the right thing and having a positive impact on others is all that he really wants. And as they would return from Obi-Wan's home, they would begin to find out what fate had in store for them.
I've never heard of them hitting anything this big before.
They didn't, but we are meant to think they did. These tracks are side by side. Sand people always ride single file to hide their numbers.
Obi-Wan showing his perceptive nature as he begins to piece together that the Empire was behind the murder of the Jawas.
These are the same Jawas that sold us R2 and 3PO.
And these last points, too accurate for sand people. Only Imperial stormtroopers are so precise.
Okay, I'm not so sure about that last point, Obi-Wan, but seriously, now that Obi-Wan and Luke can confirm their suspicions, this leads them to asking the simple question, why?
But why would Imperial troops want to slaughter Jawas? If they traced the robots here, they may have learned who they sold them to, and that would lead them back home.
Oh, wait, Luke! It's too dangerous!
When Luke puts all the clues together, Obi-Wan advises against going, but never tries to stop him beyond that, as he understands that sometimes you must discover the truth for yourself and see it with your own eyes. Something that Obi-Wan can relate to when he discovered the truth of his former apprentice.
There's nothing you could have done, Luke, had you been there. You'd have been killed too, and the droids would now be in the hands of the Empire.
Obi-Wan needs no explanation of what occurred. He knows that the important thing is not what happened or dwelling on what could have been. Rather, what we can do with the time that we're given. A point that's eloquently said by Obi-Wan's counterpart in another epic fantasy tale.
I wish none of this had happened.
So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us.
With this in mind, Luke makes a choice, accepting his call to adventure into the new world, following in his father's footsteps.
I want to come with you to Alderaan. There's nothing for me here now. I want to learn the ways of the Force and become a Jedi like my father.
And so, Obi-Wan and the others begin their adventure, where getting off Tatooine would prove to be their first obstacle.
Mos Eisley Spaceport. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
Once in the city, they would find themselves surrounded by stormtroopers looking for R2 and 3PO, a scenario that could end their journey right there and then, but Obi-Wan ensures that this wouldn't be the case.
Let me see your identification.
You don't need to see his identification.
We don't need to see his identification.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
He can go about his business.
You can go about your business.
Move along.
Move along.
And just like that, Obi-Wan showcases the classic Jedi mind trick for the first time. Not only is this the first time that Luke witnesses the iconic move, but the Force in general in action, as he's given a glimpse of the benefits that the Force has on the world around him, as it's not only useful to aid one physically, but mentally as well.
I can't understand how we got by those troops. I thought we were dead.
The Force can have a strong influence on the weak-minded.
Obi-Wan lets Luke know that while this power may not be a simple get-out-of-jail-free card for every scenario, it can come in handy from time to time. Also, the way Obi-Wan uses the Jedi mind trick is important to note, as he uses it for good. An ability as powerful as influencing someone's decisions with a simple wave of a hand could easily be used for unthinkable acts, but Obi-Wan only uses it to ensure their safety, all the while guaranteeing that no harm would come to either side.
This place can be a little rough.
I'm ready for anything.
And ready they would need to be, as trouble would find them yet again.
This little one's not worth the effort. Come, let me get you something.
Obi-Wan shows how he fights aggression with compassion, as he's willing to vouch for peace above all else. He's willing to share drinks with this man because he's willing to look at it from a place of optimism, knowing that sometimes all people need is someone to reach out and be a friend, as most bullies lack this, and it's why they pick on others. However, the second you throw the first punch, Obi-Wan isn't backing down. also proving that he can roll with the best of them, and he definitely isn't a pushover, even though others would assume he's just another typical old man. And as we know, not only is Obi-Wan not a pushover in combat, but in the art of negotiation, as he begins to broker a deal with Han to gain passage to Alderaan.
Yes, indeed. If it's a fast ship.
Fast ship? You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon?
Should I have?
This being a great introduction into the dynamic between Han and Obi-Wan, as the two characters share opposing personality traits, where Han is arrogant, Obi-Wan is humble, and Obi-Wan knows just how to humble Han, as he once had an apprentice with Han's extreme confidence. So it only makes sense that he would remind Han that no one cares about the Falcon, even though Han says it with such pride, like it's an accomplishment.
It's a ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs.
And Obi-Wan's face says it all.
She's fast enough for you, old man. What's the cargo?
Only passengers, myself, the boy, 2 droids, and no questions asked.
There's a bit of Han that likes Obi-Wan, as he can quickly tell that he has some street smarts, so he decides to test how smart he really is, and tries to swindle as much money as he can out of him.
What is it, some kind of local trouble?
Let's just say we'd like to avoid any imperial entanglements.
Well, that's the real trick, isn't it? And it's gonna cost you something extra.
Obi-Wan is willing to play ball as the money doesn't matter to him, but more importantly, he knows it matters to Han, which makes him predictable. So Obi-Wan uses that to his advantage and closes the deal in his favor.
We can pay you 2,000 now, plus 15 when we reach Alderaan.
17, huh? Okay, you guys got yourselves a ship.
With an agreement solidified, Obi-Wan and the team are off to Alderaan, but unfortunately, it's during their trip that their intended destination is destroyed.
I felt a great disturbance in the Force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. I fear something terrible has happened. You better get on with your exercises.
Obi-Wan senses the deaths of those on Alderaan and shows the spiritual connection that the Force can bestow on someone, as the Force is made up of everything. So when a part of it is destroyed, it feels like a part of the Force user is destroyed as well. This reminiscent to Yoda sensing the atrocities of Order 66. So for Obi-Wan, it's more than likely a feeling that he's already familiar with, as his former apprentice is again involved in the genocide of an entire race of people. Obi-Wan then proceeds to teach Luke the ways of the Force and the ideals of the Jedi.
Remember, a Jedi can feel the Force flowing through him.
You mean it controls your actions?
Partially, but it also obeys your commands.
Obi-Wan reminds us of the importance of spirituality and the connection we have with our own spirit. In this case, it's told through the form of the Force, as it's a part of us and can guide us along our path. However, at the end of the day, because it obeys our commands, your actions are still your own. This means that we must take responsibility for our actions, as we're always given a choice. We can be guided by our ethics, our spirituality, or our morals, but what we do is still for us to determine and will define us.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
You don't believe in the Force, do you?
There's no mystical energy field controls my destiny. It's all a lot of simple tricks and nonsense.
Han's views directly challenge Obi-Wan's, as Han believes that there's no destiny and that everything is only actions that lead to direct consequences. Obi-Wan believes there's choice, but we still follow the will of the Force, in the same sense that one could simply say that everything happens for a reason.
I suggest you try it again, Luke. This time, let go your conscious self and act on instinct.
With the blast shield down, I can't even see. How am I supposed to fight?
Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. Stretch out with your feelings.
Here, Obi-Wan gets Luke to separate his body from his mind by eliminating his ability to see. The eyes are what allow us to see the world we live in, but sometimes, as Obi-Wan says, they can deceive us. Two people can see the same thing and interpret it differently, because we typically will still see what we want to see. By taking away his sight, this forces Luke to look inwards for answers. Then the world becomes clearer, as he must trust himself and his instincts. Sometimes just believing in yourself is all you really need to be successful, something Luke would take with him on the rest of his journey.
You see? You can do it.
I call it luck.
In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
Look, good against remotes is one thing. Good against the living, that's something else.
Again, Obi-Wan believes that everything happens for a reason, like the will of the Force, where Han believes that there's randomness in the world, and we're either on the positive or negative receiving end of it. Also, Han places more value in the results when they matter, but Obi-Wan focuses on the preparation of the moment, as that will consistently get you the results that you're looking for.
You know, I did feel something. I could almost see the remote.
That's good. You've taken your first step into a larger world.
Not only does he mean that Luke is taking his first steps in the Force, but of self-discovery and growth as a hero, as believing in himself is the key. It'll be something he'll need in the natural cycle of master and apprentice if he's to grow beyond Obi-Wan. When the team arrives to their destination, they're faced with the reality of what occurred to the peaceful planet of Alderaan.
Totally blown away.
What? How?
Destroyed by the Empire.
The entire Starfleet couldn't destroy the whole planet. It'd take 1,000 ships with more firepower than I've...
Obi-Wan knows that it may be unlikely in a logical sense to suggest the Empire, but he still believes it's the most likely cause. Han, though, views things realistically and is hesitant to open his mind to the possibility. Basically, Obi-Wan can believe in the impossible because he's experienced it, where Han still needs to see in order to believe. Obi-Wan and Han's differences are further highlighted in how they approach the rogue fighter in deep space.
Sure is leaving in a big hurry. If they identify us, we're in big trouble.
Not if I can help it. Chewie, jam its transmissions.
It would be as well to let it go. It's too far out of range.
Not for long.
Obi-Wan will avoid conflict if they can, only choosing to fight when absolutely necessary, whereas Han is impulsive and will pick fights for problems that don't necessarily exist.
A fighter that size couldn't get this deep into space on its own.
Obi-Wan is already putting the pieces together, pointing out how the TIE fighter is out of place, foreshadowing the danger that they're in.
Look at him, he's heading for that small moon.
I think I can get him before he gets there. He's almost in range.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
It's too big to be a space station.
Obi-Wan's belief that anything is possible goes for both the good and the bad, in this case, quickly accepting the possibility of the Death Star, the ultimate weapon in the universe. And now they're about to enter the innermost cave, where they will face many tests in their journey to defeat the Empire.
You're not gonna get me without a fight.
You can't win, but there are alternatives to fighting.
Obi-Wan reminds Han the importance of living to fight another day, a concept that Han would better understand later in life. But for now, Obi-Wan would have to deal with Han's criticism of his plan.
This is ridiculous. Even if I could take off, I'd never get past the tractor beam.
Leave that to me.
Damn fool, I knew that you were gonna say that.
Who's the more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows him?
Basically, right back at you. Obi-Wan's wisdom really shines as he reminds Han that they're in this together, even if he thinks it's a bad idea. Han, as the second fool, still has chosen to follow it, whereas Obi-Wan, the first fool, is simply trying his best to get out of the situation. If you know someone is a fool, yet you follow them, then shame on you, and you have no right to call them foolish, if not calling yourself a fool as well. I hope that made sense. Essentially, if you know someone is doing something wrong, why join them in it? So the fools follow through with their plan, even if one of them can't help but complain about it.
Bring him on. I prefer a straight fight to all this sneaking around.
And when they gather enough intel for a method to escape, Obi-Wan quickly volunteers to get the job done.
I want to go with you.
Be patient, Luke. Stay and watch over the droids.
But he can...
They must be delivered safely, or other star systems will suffer the same fate as Alderaan. Your destiny lies along a different path from mine.
Here, Obi-Wan emphasizes the idea of parting ways with the apprentice once they're ready, as he's guided him along his path to the best of his ability, giving him all the tools to succeed, and he must trust him to fulfill his destiny. Unlike when he micromanaged Anakin, he now shows full confidence in Luke to do the right thing, understanding that he will have to make decisions for himself not only now, but long after he's gone.
The Force will be with you, always.
A reminder that not only the Force, but Obi-Wan will always be with him in spirit. Luke must hold on to the belief that Obi-Wan has in him, and start believing in himself. So Obi-Wan would be on his way to shut down the tractor beam, but all the while one final encounter between Master and Apprentice would be alluded to as their destinies are still intertwined.
I sense something, a presence I've not felt since...
A tremor in the Force. The last time I felt it was in the presence of my old master.
Surely he must be dead by now.
Don't underestimate the Force.
The Jedi are extinct. Their fire has gone out of the universe. You, my friend, are all that's left of their religion.
Even Vader has respect for Obi-Wan similar to his respect for the Force. This makes sense as Obi-Wan is as synonymous with the Force as any other Jedi. This showing that even at his ripe age, Obi-Wan is a formidable foe and mental demon for Vader, adding layers to the conflict that the two shared.
Obi-Wan is here. The Force is with him.
If you're right, he must not be allowed to escape.
Escape is not his plan. I must face him alone.
Similar to Obi-Wan leaving Luke, Vader makes it clear to Tarkin that he must go on his own, with the full intent of facing Obi-Wan on his own terms. The two understand that after the last time they faced each other, if they were to meet again, they would need to settle things once and for all. Where they were once brothers, they now only see each other as sworn enemies. And so, the master and apprentice are reunited, both ready for a fight, with Vader already having his weapon ignited, and Obi-Wan with his ready in his hand.
We meet again at last. The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Only a master of evil, Darth.
Vader is as confident as ever, taking this as a moment to show his master that he has no use for him anymore. However, Obi-Wan reminds Vader that he has only mastered something that he has no interest in, so he hasn't surpassed Obi-Wan in any way. He's only completed his journey of disappointment. Vader still believes the lie that power makes you strong. Obi-Wan sees through this and knows that his strength is defined by more than just winning a duel. Obi-Wan is ready to become one with the Force, and knows that through it his true power will lie. Also, Obi-Wan knows for Vader, even if he defeats Obi-Wan, he will not be truly satisfied by it, as it would only further his sorrows in the dark side. Essentially, it will never give him the happiness he seeks. Towards the end of the fight, Luke and the others arrive and spectate the duel for a moment. In this moment, Obi-Wan looks to Luke and then back at his former apprentice. As he grins, he knows that he's done all that he could to give Luke the tools he needs to defeat the Empire. Obi-Wan in this moment concedes the fight and allows Vader to strike him down. He then becomes more powerful as he transforms into the Force, a concept that not even Vader can comprehend, as he searches Obi-Wan's robes in disbelief. Obi-Wan's sacrifice drives home the point that to be good is to be selfless. To save others is the ultimate good in the world, an idea that Luke would need to understand to save his father. Vader kills Obi-Wan out of a selfish need for revenge, but fails to find happiness from this, where Obi-Wan sacrifices himself to help not only Luke, but the rebellion in general, knowing that he's left them in good hands and buying them enough time to escape the Death Star unscathed, along with the princess and the plans.
Run, Luke, run!
Without skipping a beat, Obi-Wan is the angel on Luke's shoulder, there to guide and protect him during the conflict. Obi-Wan becoming one with the Force and achieving immortality is representative of the idea that you only truly die if others forget about you. In order to be remembered by others in a positive way, you must have a positive impact on their life, and in turn they will honor your life through the actions that they take. So Obi-Wan lives on through Luke, and Obi-Wan redeems himself as a master by training the son the correct way. Although the time spent training wasn't for as long as it was with Anakin, the impact was just as strong. He left Luke on good terms with an abundance of faith that he could achieve anything, where when he left Anakin, he only had distrust and disappointment for him. And in turn, Luke felt love and compassion for Obi-Wan, and Vader felt betrayal and hatred for him. And while Obi-Wan may be gone physically, he would still continue to be an integral part of the story and its characters.
Can't believe he's gone.
For Luke, he would mourn the loss of Obi-Wan more so than anyone, as he was what he wanted of Anakin, a father figure, a reminder that sometimes we don't realize what someone means to us until they're gone.
This will be a day long remembered. It has seen the end of Kenobi and will soon see the end of the rebellion.
On the opposite side, Obi-Wan's death has given Vader a rejuvenation and arrogance, as his hubris would be his downfall, providing further evidence to the idea that he truly wouldn't be any stronger by defeating Obi-Wan.
Hey, Luke. May the Force be with you.
Even Han does his best to act as Obi-Wan would to comfort Luke before the Battle of Yavin.
I only wish Ben were here.
Sometimes we feel lost when our mentor is gone, but that's the great challenge, living beyond the mentor and truly utilizing what they taught us. So Luke would go on into the Battle of Yavin with the lessons that Obi-Wan taught him as his weapons for success.
Use the Force, Luke. Let go, Luke.
The Force is strong in this one.
Luke, trust me.
Obi-Wan reminds Luke that this is no different than his training with the remote. His eyes can deceive him, just like the targeting computer can. Just like having the blast shield down, he seems to be going in blind, but in reality, he can see more clearly than ever, because he's going in with the confidence that he can do it without needing to rely on the technology. And after Han returns to help Luke, Luke focuses on the shot, feels the Force flow through him, as it obeys his commands, and hits the exhaust port with ease.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Obi-Wan can now rest a little easier, as he knows he left the galaxy with a hero that they deserve in Luke. Where he once failed with Anakin, he now succeeded with Luke. Obi-Wan in this movie shows the importance of being a mentor and the influence you can have on others, as his actions turn Luke from being the simple farm boy to a hero of the rebellion. He reminds us that being a guide is all that is needed. Sometimes we just need a little push in the right direction. But his job would not be complete, as Luke is not a Jedi yet. Overall, he's the ideal mentor on a hero's journey, being our window into the universe and what a Jedi should be, as we get to see Luke be molded into the classic hero. At the start of The Empire Strikes Back, Obi-Wan shows that he's still the angel on Luke's shoulder, appearing as a Force ghost on Hoth.
You will go to the Dagobah system. There you will learn from Yoda, the Jedi Master who instructed me.
This would prove to be one of the most important steps for Luke on his journey to becoming a Jedi, as he would truly begin his training of self-discovery. It's also fitting that Obi-Wan would point him in the direction of the last living member of the group that swore to protect the Skywalker children. And when Luke makes it to Dagobah, Obi-Wan would be there to play his part and vouch for him, as Yoda would be skeptical.
I cannot teach him. The boy has no patience.
He will learn patience.
Much anger in him, like his father.
Was I any different when you taught me?
He is not ready.
Even when Luke fails his first test of patience, Obi-Wan must remind Yoda that people grow over time, that with the proper experience and knowledge of a helping hand, they can accomplish great things.
You are reckless.
So was I, if you remember.
A reminder that we were all young once. Obi-Wan was the type of guy to jump out of buildings from time to time, but he still had good intentions and a big heart, qualities that he sees in Luke.
He finish what he begins.
And after a few convincing points from Obi-Wan, Yoda is up for the challenge, but wants to make sure that Luke is too, so he seeks for Obi-Wan's approval. So Luke begins his training with Yoda and learns much from him. However, after he sees visions of the future, he decides to cut the training short.
You must not go.
But Han and Leia will die if I don't.
You don't know that. Even Yoda cannot see their fate.
Obi-Wan returns yet again, this time to advise Luke during an important time. Similar to what Yoda said earlier,
always in motion is the future.
Obi-Wan reminds Luke that the future is unpredictable, so it's best not to let these visions dictate his actions.
But I can help them. I feel the Force.
But you cannot control it. This is a dangerous time for you, when you will be tempted by the dark side of the Force.
Yes. To Obi-Wan you listen.
Obi-Wan here shows that wisdom comes from experience, as he's seen this before with Anakin, where his former apprentice once thought he could control the Force and influence the future to his design, which was where the dark side seduced his conflicted self. Also, Yoda deferring to Obi-Wan shows how even he recognizes the father and son bond that they share, as the advice is almost received differently when it comes from him.
It is you and your abilities the Emperor wants. That is why your friends are made to suffer.
That's why I have to go.
Obi-Wan tries to avoid repeating history as he knows how Palpatine works, as he already lost one apprentice to him, and Palpatine knows just how to use the Skywalkers' compassion against themselves.
Luke, I don't want to lose you to the Emperor the way I lost Vader.
You won't.
And in one simple word, Obi-Wan summarizes what Luke must have to achieve success.
Patience.
Sometimes having a calm mind and taking your time yields the best results. In this case, it would help not only with his training as a Jedi in the Force, but his development as a person, as when we're patient, we're more inclined to make better decisions, and this of course being one of Luke's most important choices.
If you choose to face Vader, you will do it alone. I cannot interfere.
I understand.
And so Luke chooses to go and save his friends. Where a younger Obi-Wan would have scolded his apprentice for making a decision like this, he and Yoda simply give him last bits of advice to aid Luke, understanding that if he's going to do it, they can't stop him. So he might as well be prepared, as that's all they can do, to give him the tools to succeed.
Luke, don't give in to hate. That leads to the dark side.
Strong is Vader. Mind what you have learned. Save you again.
I will. And I'll return. I promise.
So Luke promises to finish what he started, and the two masters must place their faith in his decision.
is our last hope.
No. There is another.
So Luke goes on to face Vader, utilizing the preparation and teachings his masters have given him.
You have learned much, young one.
You'll find I'm full of surprises.
But at the end of the duel, he would face something he wasn't prepared for. The truth.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
After this discovery, Luke would feel betrayed by his late master, as his world would be turned upside down, not just because of the shocking truth, but because someone he trusted lied to him.
Why didn't you tell me?
So the movie would end with Obi-Wan leaving his apprentice and the audience alike with more questions than answers. In The Return of the Jedi, Obi-Wan would return once again, this time to provide Luke with the closure he needs about the mystery that was Anakin Skywalker's fate.
Why didn't you tell me? You told me Vader betrayed and murdered my father.
Your father was seduced by the dark side of the Force. He ceased to be Anakin Skywalker and became Darth Vader. When that happened, the good man who was your father was destroyed. So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
A certain point of view?
What's important here is while this is the reality of what happened, how he originally told Luke feels just as true to him, because that's how he experienced and interpreted the event. To Obi-Wan, he could only rationalize it by telling himself that his brother and Anakin was murdered, because it was too painful to believe that he and Vader were one and the same.
Luke, you're going to find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view.
We can all experience something and interpret it differently, as our perspective or our focus can determine our reality. In this case, Anakin being dead makes as much sense to him because he hasn't seen any semblance of the good friend he once knew in the suit for over 2 decades.
Anakin was a good friend. When I first knew him, your father was already a great pilot, but I was amazed how strongly the Force was with him. I took it upon myself to train him as a Jedi. I thought that I could instruct him just as well as Yoda. I was wrong.
Even in death, Obi-Wan still accepts the full responsibility of Anakin's fall and his failure as an instructor. When he speaks of Anakin, you can feel the love for the man he once was, and the disappointment he has in himself for failing him. This emphasizing the idea that he wanted to make things right when training Luke, because if he failed Luke, it would be like failing Anakin all over again.
There is still good in him.
He's more machine now than man, twisted and evil.
Where Obi-Wan was once more optimistic like Luke, life has made him pessimistic, as he only sees the monster that was created in Darth Vader, rather than the man in the suit, making him incapable of seeing the good in him, as he seems to share the same belief that the Emperor does.
By now you must know your father can never be turned from the dark side.
This stemming from their inability to treat Anakin and Vader as the same person, whereas Luke's ability to treat them as one man gives him the power to see his struggle.
I've accepted the truth that you were once Anakin Skywalker, my father.
That name no longer has any meaning for me.
It is the name of your true self you've only forgotten. I know there is good in you. The Emperor hasn't driven it from you fully.
You must face Darth Vader again.
I can't kill my own father.
Then the Emperor has already won. You were our only hope.
Obi-Wan has convinced himself for so long that Anakin was truly dead that he lost faith in his former apprentice. It's here that Luke's compassion, the very thing that was considered one of Anakin's greatest strengths and weaknesses, shines, as he chooses to believe in Anakin Skywalker.
Yoda spoke of another.
The other he spoke of is your twin sister.
Leia. Leia is my sister.
Your insight serves you well. Bury your feelings deep down, Luke. They do you credit, but they couldn't be made to serve the Emperor.
Just like Anakin, Obi-Wan sees that Luke's feelings are his strength, but with that in mind, they could be used against him, as he knows more than anyone how manipulative the Emperor can be. With this, Obi-Wan has given Luke all the answers he could to go in with a clear mind against Vader and the Emperor. From here on out, Luke is on his own, and he must use not only Obi-Wan and Yoda's training, but the knowledge and wisdom that they've armed him with as his ally. In the end, Luke is able to succeed against Vader and the Emperor and complete his training once and for all.
You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Fitting, as he's a sculpture of Yoda and Obi-Wan's vision of the ideal Jedi. They gave him the tools, but only he could do something with it, succeeding not because of his strength in the Force, but because of his bravery, his compassion, his undying belief in others, and doing what he felt was right. In the closing scenes of the movie, Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Anakin all look at Luke with pride, as he went on to become the Jedi they wished they could be. From his own failures, Obi-Wan was able to make amends and teach Luke the way he wanted to teach his father. And even in death, Obi-Wan would be proven wrong for the better, as his brother was immortalized and he is reunited with his best friend once more, an idea that Obi-Wan once believed would never happen. A reminder that anything is possible, and you can always learn from your mistakes. In the end, he has to believe that Qui-Gon would be proud, as he helped bring the Chosen One back to the light and made good on his promise from all those years ago. Overall, Obi-Wan is the quintessential master, one that is knowledgeable, wise, and even flawed. We see him from a young apprentice all the way to a wizened old Jedi Master. Along his own journey, he's made many mistakes, but what makes him special is that he learned from them and always tried to improve. He was selfless and peaceful, even during times of war, and a master negotiator, showing us that conflicts can be resolved through proper communication. He was what others strive to be, and could even be considered the epitome of a mentor, a hero, and a friend. It's because of this and so much more that Obi-Wan has forever earned a special place in the hearts of audiences as the guardian of peace and justice, and the greatest Star Wars character of all time. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I had a ton of fun making this video, so if you enjoyed it too, then I highly suggest liking the video, and if you want to see more like it, then definitely hit subscribe. And if you want to be notified when the next character comes out, then hit the bell for notifications, or consider checking out my Patreon, where I'll be uploading videos there significantly sooner than on YouTube, and the same will apply to the next parts when they come out. And on that note, I want to give a shout out to my patrons. Your support means everything to me. And thank you to everyone who watches. I truly appreciate it. And finally, let me know in the comments which Star Wars character is the greatest Jedi and why. And who knows, they might be in the next one. Until next time, remember, the Force will be with you, always.